The July 13th, 2022 Board of Zoning Appeals is now in meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals is now in session. Oh, hi, Ms. Clark. She's here. Fabulous. Good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Arlington County Board of Zoning Appeals, which is also known as the BZA. I am Lindsay Arthurs, chair of the board. The board is made up of 5 citizens appointed by the Circuit Court. In addition to myself, we have Vice Chair Judy Freshman and board members Inta Malice, Portia Clark, and Richard Kaplan. Also present are the professional staff, including Blake Bowen, Board of Zoning Appeals Coordinator, Stephen Rissy, the Zoning Prim Supervisor, and Megan Ryan, BZA Associate Planner. For the safety of our board members, county staff, applicants, and participating community members, we are meeting in a virtual format this evening, and all participants are joining the meeting remotely. We are legally authorized to hold this virtual meeting based on the governor's executive orders, legislation adopted by the Virginia General Assembly, and the Arlington County Board's continuity of operations ordinance adopted way back in March of 2020. Savor this moment because this is the last virtual meeting that we will be able to have in this format, so everyone enjoy it. Before we call our first case, I will share with you some general information about the BZA and then some ground rules for how we conduct our virtual meetings. The board's powers are prescribed in the Code of Virginia and are set out in further detail in the county's zoning ordinance adopted by the county board. The Board of Zoning Appeals does not have the power to rezone property or to amend the regulations set forth in the ordinance. That authority rests with the county board. This board does have the authority to do 3 things. We can approve use permits that allow modifications of placement requirements of structures on 1 and 2 family lots where there is no option in the zoning ordinance to allow such modifications. We can grant variances from the specific requirements of the zoning ordinance, and we can decide appeals of decisions of the zoning administrator. Now, here are some of the specific instructions about this evening's virtual meeting. Tonight's meeting is available to stream from the county website via a Microsoft Teams link. There is also a dial-in phone option for those of you who wish to use it. If board members, presenters, or speakers lose internet connectivity during tonight's meeting, please connect with us by phone. Please keep your phones and devices muted until you are called upon. Turn off sound on any other devices around you to minimize interference, which we've already heard a little bit of tonight. For those joining via Teams, please turn off your video feed. Only board members will leave their cameras on throughout the entire meeting. When called upon to speak, please turn on your camera and unmute yourself by clicking on the microphone icon that is located in the meeting command bar. The moderator does not have the ability to unmute you. The meeting chat is active for presenters or board members who need technical assistance only. The meeting chat should not be used for discussion, public comment, questions about agenda items, or requests for more information. All public comments must be shared verbally for the record during the assigned public testimony period. For speakers and applicants. Applicants and public speakers, you will be called upon by county staff at the assigned time. Pre-registration to speak at tonight's hearing was requested. We will accommodate any additional speakers only if time permits. Public comment will take place within the allotted timeframes only, the same as we would provide at an in-person meeting. During public comment, a speaker timer will be displayed on the screen. If you are dialing in by phone and unable to see the screen, please let us know and we can provide an audible warning when 30 seconds are remaining. Lastly, this is a public forum. Today's meeting will be recorded and posted to the county website. All information associated with today's meeting, whether written or spoken, is subject to the Freedom of Information Act requirements. After your case of interest is heard, you're welcome to stay for the balance of the session, but we understand if you would like to leave. For tonight's meeting procedures, the county staff reports for each case on tonight's agenda can be found on the BZA website. A link to the agenda can be found in the chat section. If you have not seen your report for your case, you may wish to review it before your item is called. There is also a link in the chat for supplemental material received after the staff reports were prepared. The order of our meeting is as follows. First, the cases will be called and board members will ask any questions they have of the county zoning staff. Next, the applicants or their representatives will be given an opportunity to make comments to support the application or appeal. Then, if there are speakers for an item, we will call upon them at that time. After we hear from speakers for or against the proposal, the board may permit the applicant a brief opportunity to clarify any points. The board may also ask questions of any of the speakers, but we do not permit and will not condone any cross-examination or direct questioning by others. We have deemed the following time limits for applicants and speakers to be sufficient. 5 minutes for applicants of use permits and variances, and 3 minutes for speakers representing organizations, and 2 minutes for those speaking as individuals. After the board has gathered all the information we need and have discussed the case, we will decide the matter by voting on a motion duly made and seconded. A majority is needed to approve any motion. An appeal from the decision of this board must be made to the circuit court in accordance with state law. That concludes the introductory remarks. We're going to have the agenda is going to change slightly tonight. Mr. Bowen, would you mind calling case number 3 first, as we have guests that are overseas?
Yes, Madam Chair, I can do that. The first case that is intended to be heard tonight is V-11759-22-UP-2. This is a use permit request by Kristen Grauer and Timothy Warren, the owners, to permit a street setback of 20.7 feet to the wall instead of 20.9 feet as previously approved, and 18.7 feet to the bay window instead of 18.9 feet as previously approved, both from 17th Street North right-of-way, regarding the modification of a BZA use permit V-11582-20-UP-1 for construction error for a single-family dwelling on a corner lot in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 1623 North Roosevelt Street within the Maniston Matter Civic Association. The staff recommendation for this case is approval, and we do not have any additional speakers signed up or supplemental materials.
Okay, board members, do you guys
Ms.
have
Arthurs?
Yeah.
Could we ask Mr. Arquette to turn his camera off?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Just gives us more room on the screen.
Absolutely.
Mr. Arquette, can you hear it? There you go.
Oh, okay, fabulous. All right, board members, do you guys have any questions for the staff about this application?
Motion.
Yes.
I move the Board of Zoning Appeals approve the attached proposed resolution approving use permit V-11759-22-UP2 subject to the conditions listed.
Second.
Second.
Ms. Malice.
Yeah, just a quick question for staff. I'm in favor of the motion, but just a quick question. The applicant indicated that it was not specified that the approval is to the finished wall. Is that not clear in our process?
I don't know that it's not necessarily clear. It seems there was a misunderstanding in this instance. It is something that, in our general guidance that we give during pre-application meetings, we generally mention that the measurements are taken to the finished wall. As my tenure during the BZA coordinator, we certainly do that a fair degree. We could also theoretically, add additional language to our website if the board feels that it would be helpful to applicants of BZA use permits and variances.
Well, it's the first time I've heard that there was a misunderstanding like this. So I don't know where we would put this, but I guess this is an offline discussion.
Sure thing. Yeah, we'll be happy to consider it, perhaps during an upcoming work session or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
I'm on mute. Does anyone have any other questions? All right, a motion has been made by Ms. Freshman, seconded by Ms. Malice. If there's no further discussion, I will call the roll. Ms. Freshman?
Aye.
Ms. Malice?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Kaplan?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion to grant the application passes 5-0. That concludes this matter. Congratulations, and you can now go to sleep.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Good night.
You're welcome.
night.
Good night,
Bye-bye.
guys. All right, then we're gonna mess with our agenda a little bit more. I think, board members, does anybody have any interest in a consent motion for the deferral recommendations, which Mr. Bowen can probably tell us the applications that have requested deferral, and maybe we could just consent and move them all off of the agenda early on, if everyone's okay with that.
Right. However it's best from the staff point of view. If you want us to do each one separately, it still will go quickly.
From a staff perspective, I think it's probably most expeditious to do them all as a group motion. They're all being recommended for deferral until September, so we don't need to
Okay.
distinguish between dates.
All right, do you want to call all three of them? And then we'll make a motion for all. Can we do that together? Can we do all three and make one consent motion for them?
Yes, we've done that previously.
Okay.
Unless
That would
Mr.
be great.
Christie, who's present, has any other objections to doing it that way. I know he's been also involved in kind of the protocol for group motions.
I think this is in order.
Okay, hearing nothing from Mr. Risty, I will go ahead and read the three case numbers considered in the group motion for deferral. The first one is V-11765-22-VA-1. This is a variance request by Kevin Flume and Paula Cordero Salas, the owners, to permit a total lot coverage of 45.2% instead of 40% as is required regarding a new screen porch and deck on a pipe stem lot in the R6 zoning district with an existing non-conforming total lot coverage of 43.6% on the premises known as 6248 23rd Street North in the Leeway over Lee Civic Association. The second request here is the associated use permit. It is V-11765-22-UP-1. This is a use permit request by Kevin Flume and Paula Cordero Salas, the owners, to permit a rear setback of 20.8 feet to the porch and deck instead of 21 feet to the porch and deck as required, a right side setback of 16.9 feet to the porch, 15.9 feet to the porch eave instead of 25 feet to the porch, 21 feet to the porch eave as required, and a left side setback of 19.7 feet to the deck instead of 21 feet as required regarding a new screened porch and deck on a pipe stem lot in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 6248 23rd Street North in the Leeway Overlea Civic Association. The third and final request in the group motion for deferral is V-11767-22-VA-1. This is a variance request by William B. Lawson Jr. on behalf of Bradley and Eleanor Patute, the owners, to permit a main building footprint of 4,574 square feet instead of 3,920 square feet as required for a one-family dwelling with a qualifying front porch in the R10 zoning district regarding a new one-family dwelling with front porch, attached garage, and rear deck in the R10 zoning district on the premises known as 4620 36th Street North in the Old Glebe Civic Association.
Anyone like to make a motion?
Ms. Arthurs,
Yes.
I wonder if there are speakers on this third item.
Yes.
We did have speakers sign up for this, and that was included in the supplemental materials packet. In conversation with those speakers, they indicated they only had interest in speaking were the BZA not to defer these cases or to be inclined not to defer them.
Okay.
Just as, if anybody does wish to speak, they have a right to speak tonight. So they should speak up if they do.
All right, I don't hear anybody.
Hi, this is Scott Miller. As Blake said, I think we're glad to defer to September what we have to say until then, as long as this is deferred till that point.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the consideration.
I'm happy to make a motion, but I have a question. Do I need to read the case numbers? Should I read the case numbers, Blake?
I think for good measure, just reading the case numbers once more would be good. We've done that in the
Okay.
past. No?
Okay. In case V-11765-22-VA1, case 11765- 22-UP1 and case V-11767-22-VA1. I move deferral of these 3 applications to the September 4, 2022 BZA hearing.
You meant 14?
What? Oh, September 14? Right. I guess that's what the report says. Is that the correct date?
Yep, September 14th.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Motion has been made by Ms. Freshman, seconded by Ms. Clark. If nobody has any questions, I will call the roll. Ms. Freshman,
All right.
Ms. Malice,
Aye.
Ms. Clark,
Aye.
Mr. Kaplan.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion to move all 3 of those applications to defer the applications to the September 14th, 2022 BZA hearing passes 5-0. All right, that covers the administrative aspect. Mr. Bowen or Ms. Ryan, can you call the first case, please?
Yes, I believe Meg will be calling the first case.
Case number B1173122UP2.
You're on mute. I don't know how you got on mute. Still on mute.
I will go ahead and read for Meg if she's having a technical glitch. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'll read for Meg. Case number V-11731-22-UP-2. This is a carryover item. It is a use permit request by Jay Zalea on behalf of Z George LLC, the owner, to permit a street setback of 10.2 feet to the main building, 9.2 feet to the main building eve, instead of 25 feet to the main building, 21 feet to the main building eve. A street setback of 10.4 feet to the front porch, 9.2 feet to the porch eve, instead of 21 feet to the front porch, 19.5 feet to the porch eve. A street setback of 17.8 feet to the rear detached garage, 16.8 feet to the garage eve instead of 25 feet to the rear detached garage, 21 feet to the garage eve as required, all from 20th Street North, and to permit a left side setback of 4.1 feet to an areaway instead of 5 feet as required from the left side property line regarding a new 1-family detached dwelling and rear detached garage on a corner lot in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 2001 North George Mason Drive in the John M. Langston Civic Association. Staff recommends that the board adopt the attached proposed resolution granting the use permit request with conditions. And please note that we do have a piece of supplemental material that was submitted for this case.
Can you describe the supplemental material? My link is not working all of a sudden.
Oh, yes, no problem. It is a letter submitted by Mr. Zalea outlining kind of the history of the project as well as some of his concerns.
Board members, do we have any questions for the staff? Ms. Mallett.
Yes. Mr. Bowen, in the package, there are 2 submissions in the comment form. Neither of them have dates, and I wonder, is that a glitch in the system? It would be useful to know when they were written.
Ms. Malice, are these the kind of the online comment forms from?
Yes, they are. The online comment forms.
I do not believe those templates automatically have a date potentially. Let me check. I'm sure I can find a date for you in my email history. Might
Okay.
take a minute or
And
so.
my related question is this the sum of written responses that we have on this case?
Yeah,
This
at this
packet-
point, we did not receive much in the way of new supplemental materials or new submissions from neighbors. So this is kind of the entire history of the project over the preceding year.
So these 2 are the only written comments that we have.
Let me check the link and just verify that.
I have a related question as well.
Yes, Mr. Kaplan, please feel free to ask as I will be doing research on this question and maybe I can add yours into the mix.
And my question might be more of a comment for the rest of the board as opposed to for staff. But on the history of this case, there are comments from the original case back in January, I believe, in which 2 or 3 neighbors had provided comments, about the previous case and a different plan. And I am not sure if that should carry over to this case or should be considered. So if not, we don't have very much neighbor outreach on the case before us.
Yeah, that's true because they changed the plan after January.
And I'm sure
Revised
the
it.
applicant will speak to that. But even best case scenario, I forget if it was 2, 3, and then 1 verbal. There's still would be missing neighbor outreach that we would expect, especially for a new build of this size and scope. But I wanted to mention that before the applicant speaks so that the applicant can hear my concern as well, address it.
And Ms. Malice, a question for you in response to the request for the dates. Is that something you would like me to, it's still taking me probably a minute or 2 to find that. Are you comfortable with hearing from the applicant and I can look for that in the background?
Yeah, that's fine. It's from, Mr. Darin and Mr. Bruce.
Okay, sure thing.
Thanks.
I'll look for that.
Anyone else have questions or should we hear from the applicant? All right, Mr. Zalea, are you here tonight?
Yes, I am here and present.
Okay, fabulous. Would you like to speak?
Yes, please.
Okay, go for it.
All righty. So we provided supplemental information for this hearing, and I will be going through that as well as other items with regards to this proposal. We have a letter for the board that we have prepared this presentation for the record and as supplemental information for the hearing that we're in today, which is our 4th to the BZA with regards to the same property in question with the address as 2001 North George Mason Drive, obviously. We initially presented on December of 2021. We have garnered in writing full approval by county staff for our original proposed plan, written approval and support by directly adjoining neighbors, and additional verbal approval and support by additional adjoining neighbors who will directly be affected by our proposed plan. At that time, we were deferred to a later hearing, and with the BZA's recommendation to consult with the Halls Hills Civic Association. We went before the Civic Association, reviewed their concerns, discussed all of their grievances and issues with the plan. We then again presented to the BZA after the Civic Association meeting, at which time we were denied our request for relief of setbacks with the explanation by the BZA that the proposed home was too big with too many bedrooms. After conferring with the county board's office, it was confirmed that denying an application based on bedroom count was not in the purview of the BZA as a determining factor with regard to our application, as the relief sought was for setbacks. After careful consideration of the Civic Association's concerns and the BZA's recommendations to reduce the size and bedroom count, we reapplied once again with a new application and numerous additional application fees paid by us. We made amendments to the proposed plan and reduced the size of the proposed home by approximately 700 square feet. The amended plan called for the elimination of an entire level of the home, 2 full bedrooms, 1 full bathroom, a loft, a mechanical room, and some stairs. Our amendment was received negatively by the Civic Association and also by the BZA. We presented to the Civic Association for a total now of 3 times, but each time our plan was received negatively. We were deferred again with concerns over the size. We confirmed with staff and county board that the parking requirement was met and even exceeded what would be required for a house of this size. As we're providing a garage and an off-street parking. During all of our meetings with the Civic Association and our BZA hearings, we have not been given any direction on what plan would be agreeable. When we pose the inquiry, the BZA states that they are not there to design our plan, yet every single iteration of our proposed plan is met with resistance and disapproval. We ask that someone on the BZA take a position of leadership and assist us as members of the community as well with reaching a compromise and resolution for the proposed plan. To date, we have not received any direction or cooperation by anyone on BZA with how to amicably come to an agreement so we may build a home on this substandard lot. What is clearly obvious is the complete deferral by the BZA to allow the Civic Association to guide the process, which by default grants full and unconditional deciding power to the Civic Association by way of influence. As confirmed by the county board's office, Civic Association approval is not a requirement by Arlington statute. Therefore, the Civic Association shall not be granted full deciding power over any building plans. As citizens of the community and now neighbors, we ask that the BZA look out for the benefits of the entire community and assist in resolving this impasse we have faced now for over 8 months. All adjoining neighbors and county staff have declared their approval and support in writing and verbally. We are confident that we can, if given actual actionable feedback, reach an agreeable plan. And on this supplemental information, we go through the addresses of adjoining and close by neighbors that have actually exceeded our requested relief, which you will see in the supplemental information. Corner lots do not allow for a livable footprint. Obviously, this is a substandard lot, which is clear, which is why staff has clearly supported it. Neighbors have clearly supported it. And the applied neighboring size houses on our lot, the setbacks are still greater than many in our neighborhood, as agreed by our adjoining neighbors and repeated by all staff. The proposal complies symbiotically with other homes in the immediate vicinity, whereby creating a more harmonious neighborhood feel for the community. Again, we are part of the community and we expect to be treated as such. We have conferred with Tony Johnson, who is a community member as well as Jackie Moore, who are both willing and able to undertake another conversation and explain how we are attempting to build something that fits within the neighborhood. And if we are denied again our plan, we are left with an unbuildable lot, which will create an extreme hardship. And at this time, the hardship exists due to these never-ending delays caused by the constant deferrals and denials that we've constantly run into. So we request a workable solution for all to be reached so we may build this home and replace the unfitting existing conditions, and again request a process that allows us for a proper dialogue to collectively reach a conclusion that works for everyone. If this application is not granted, the law is deemed unbuildable and should be condemned. And as Code of Virginia states in Chapter 19, Section 15.2-1904, the locality shall pay into court or to clerk thereof for the property owner's benefit such sum as the governing body estimates to be fair value of the property taken and damage, if any, done to the due residue. Therefore, we again look forward to an expedited understanding and open dialogue to an appropriate and agreeable solution to all and not a one-sided decision. Thank you.
I think there's some misunderstanding about what this body does, just to put that out there. Ms. Freshman, do you have any questions?
Well, no, I have a comment, but I'll wait.
Mr. Bowen?
Just a small point. I know Ms. Malice was waiting for the dates of those two comment forms. They were both from April 30th, 2022.
Thank you.
Ms. Malice, do you want to ask a question?
Yes, Mr. Zelaya, you met with the Civic Association in June,
Yes, ma'am.
and what was the result of that meeting?
The result of that meeting was as we explained, the amended plan, it is a constant and ever moving target, which is very difficult to hit a target that's constantly moving. So first is size, then it's bedrooms, then it's parking, then it's visibility, then it's this, then it's the other thing. So it's really difficult to not have leadership in this process, which we're looking at you guys to help us achieve.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt, please? Did
Well,
the
can I finish,
neighborhood
actually?
association support your project or not support your project?
I'm sorry, once again?
Did the neighborhood support your association support your project in June or not support your project in June?
We are left confused as we were in December of 2021 because the commentary is ever moving. Therefore,
Is that a
it
no?
is a moving target. And no, that wouldn't be a no. That would be that the ask constantly adjusts. So we can never reach any kind of solution when everything keeps moving for all of time. We've addressed the concerns of the size. We've addressed the concerns of the bedroom count. We've addressed the concerns of the parking. We cannot continue to readdress issues that come up every single month. We're looking for leadership from the board.
Mr.
That's not
Zelaya?
our role here. That's not our role here. Ms. Mallon?
Thank you. Mr. Zelaya, we are not part of the county board structure. We are different from the county board. We're not part of that organization. We're part of the court. And so our rules are set by state statute and the courts, not by the county board. Just want to, can you give us feedback on what you heard the Civic Association tell you at the June meeting?
Okay, so as we met with them, we stated we amended our plan based on their request, of course, of size. And so reducing it by 700 square feet, which is typically the size of an apartment, and reducing the bedroom count by 2 and removing the bathroom and stairs and a loft and such things. So that was the request. We addressed the parking concern. There is no visibility concern whatsoever. And so we answered all of their questions as far as I'm concerned. Now, were we able to garner verbal approval from them during our meeting? I can't say yay or nay on that. What I can say is that we have attempted to address all of their concerns. But again, as the concerns continue to evolve, it's very challenging when we amend our plan and spend the money to redesign, pay architects and civil engineers to redesign it, and then it's an ever-moving target. It's very inconsistent way of trying to solve a matter. So I cannot say that they agreed or disagreed at this point. I just can say that we were confused as we were in December, but that we have tried our best to address all of their concerns.
So it's your view that you don't know the position of the Civic Association on your project?
I'm not going to speak for anyone other than myself.
That's what I'm asking. You
Right, that's
believe
what I'm
that
saying. I'm not going to speak for anybody other than myself. You can ask them if they're present. They
No,
can
I'm
answer
asking
themselves.
you, do you feel that you got support or not support at the Civic Association?
I would feel that they were very receptive to the fact that we were in cooperation in adjusting the plan, and that they said, hey, you know, can you make the house smaller? And we did. Can you reduce the bedroom count?
Since
And
June,
we did.
have you made it smaller since June? This is the application, we're talking about the application that is on the table today. Right? Since June, since you're meeting with the Civic Association, have you made any changes?
We're not going to address the changes because they're ever changing. This is the issue. This is why we're asking for a little bit of guidance on what it is that we need to do, because we cannot continue to pay engineers and architects to redesign 100 times until somebody's fancy gets struck and they're okay with it. We need more direction from everyone if we're going to continue to redesign this plan. We've already reduced it by 700 square feet, 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, a loft, stairs. That was the initial question. That was the initial ask. So we addressed it. And then it was an ask of the parking. And we're actually providing more parking that the county requires.
We're just trying to understand what happened at the Civic Association meeting, and were there any changes that you've made or offered to make since that meeting?
We made a concession to where if the parking remained a concern, even though we've exceeded the parking requirement by Arlington County, that we're considering, if necessary, to remove and get rid of the garage if we have to and make it a parking pad. We've considered that. However, we have no definitive conclusions on what would be approvable or what would be agreeable. Therefore, as we try to amend our plan, as we have, and try to satisfy the Civic Association, which by my understanding and speaking with the board and speaking with Christian Dorsey and Katie Crystal, that the bedroom count should never have been a consideration in the first place. And really the only question is the setbacks. And therefore we still have addressed the bedroom count. We still have addressed the size and massing. And we have extended a ton of good faith, but without any leadership here in directives, we are at a loss. And I feel that we have extended as much as we can based on the feedback that we are receiving from everyone. Now,
Ms. Arthurs, I'm going to yield for the time being and let other people take a turn.
Okay, I think that the bedroom situation is that was raised by residents that made comments, just for the record. Mr. Bowen.
Yes, I just wanted to mention, the staff recommendation has been in favor of this application since it was first submitted to the county, and something that the board, it might have come up in previous meetings, but just for the board's consideration, this lot is 40 feet wide. We have a 25-foot street setback requirement on the right side if you're looking at the front, and an 8-foot setback requirement on the left-hand side. So unless a builder comes in and is willing to build a house that's 7 feet wide, it will probably always be a property that requires a BZA use permit.
Sure, absolutely. I don't think that's not really the main concern of ours. I think it's the community outreach and the community situation and the community resistance to the project that is the biggest concern for the board. Mr. Kaplan?
Yes, I briefly addressed the bedroom situation. That was on the previous case, and I don't think that's properly before the board in this case.
I agree.
Because I was not on the board when this case was previously before the board, and so I have no knowledge of that anyway.
Yeah, it was also raised by residents in the neighborhood associations. They were the ones that raised it.
Right. So this case, my view is that this case is properly before us. I have not seen any changes to this from when this was brought before us back in March. But that point aside, my question for I'm sorry, Mr. Zelaya. is, can you please detail the outreach? So the only outreach I see attached to this application, I see some negative comments from the civic association or associations. And then I see a letter of support from 1913 Edison, which is not in the immediate surrounding area. And I had to bring up the previous case from December, which was a totally different case with a totally different plan, to see any letters of support which were dated December 1st, 21, which is 8 months ago. And again, from a previous case. So should there be letters? You had mentioned letters of support, and I don't see them. So could you detail the outreach that was conducted in the surrounding area?
The outreach was to every adjoining neighbor who
Can you
expressed.
I'm sorry, can you,
the,
when you say adjoining neighbors, do you mean 2003 George Mason and 2000 North Emerson?
So I'm
What-
speaking about left, right, front, back, and diagonal.
So I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9 houses.
8, yes, that's correct. About 8 or so, right?
And so not one of them has given any feedback in writing, pro or con?
No, that's completely incorrect. If you look at the original plan, we had written support signed by every neighbor, and they had questioned why they would have to agree to even a smaller plan when they had agreed to the original plan, which was larger.
I went back to that original plan, even accepting that point for the moment, and I only saw written feedback from 3 places, from 2000 North Emerson, 2003 North George Mason, and 2000 North George Mason. So there's still another 5 or 6 houses that I don't see feedback with, even if I were to accept that.
There were neighbors who were, as I explained originally, the neighbor directly across the road on the side street was a little apprehensive about signing anything. She did give verbal approval after our presentation, but again, if you would, if the historical, these historical meetings would show that she was lied to by the developer who was building next to her. So she was very apprehensive about actually signing any documents. Now, across the street, we had the neighbor next to us, we had that signature. The neighbor behind us, we could not reach. And so there were a couple that we could not reach because it was in the middle of COVID. And naturally, we're quote unquote, just strangers to them. So as we knock on their door, if they feel apprehensive about letting us in, we were respectful of that. However, we were able to garner the left side neighbor who shares a fence with us, and they signed a petition saying they agreed completely with our plan.
What's
folks
the date of that petition they signed?
Excuse me?
What is the date of that petition that they signed?
Oh, I can't answer that. I don't know.
I don't have the petition in front of me, and it's not in the record. Mr. Ricci,
It
are
was
we
in the
missing a petition?
record. It was in the record of the original proposed plan in December.
So that December case is not for the board. And so
Okay.
your last outreach in this case was from December 21?
We tried to outreach others, but they were also perplexed on why the county would request outreach on something smaller when they had approved something larger. So I can't speak for all the neighbors. I can just say that they were saying, hey, Jay, we've already signed a document for you guys. We like your plan. We love it. Matter of fact, when I look out my window, I'm going to see this beautiful house and I love it. And now you're going to make it smaller. So why will we oppose that?
I mean, I'll defer, Madam Chair, for the moment.
Ms. Malice, would you like to resume?
I believe Mr. Kaplan pretty much covered my line of thinking here. We have a case before us where in the record, there is no documentation of nearby neighborhood outreach. So we're left with that.
Coupled with the resistance to the project in general and no discernible approval from the neighborhood association in June.
Miss Lindsay, Miss Arthurs, we have no speakers on this. Is
We
this
do not.
correct?
That's correct.
I don't know what the expectation of the Civic Association was, as they, you know, as they have not come to this meeting.
They have comments in the record from the deferral, the last deferral, and nothing has changed.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Kaplan, do you want to resume your?
I just have a comment for the board. You know, I spent, you know, I received this letter, Mr. Rissy, at 1:30, 2 o'clock today. And I spent a good hour or two going through every one of the comps that the applicant listed. And I can go into, you know, a discussion on that, but I'm not sure that that's a worthwhile use of our time at the moment, considering the lack of outreach here and lack of neighbor support.
What is the neighbor support originally had completely negated? Because remember, they are the ones that had the issue with the fact that there is no decision being made here positively, because they have stated that they are the neighbors that are immediately affected. A civic association that lives 10 blocks away, they've stated, why would their voice be louder than the neighbor who has to see this house directly across their fence?
I don't
So
think we
they're
said that, but
also-
we haven't heard from them. We haven't heard from the people that are surrounding, that are next door to you about the project. This specific project before the board that we're asked to vote on right now.
There's zero feedback in the record for this project before us. I'm sorry, let me correct myself. There's not zero feedback. There is 1913 Edison has voiced some support, but they're not in the immediate vicinity here.
I guess they're frustrated with the redundancy of continuing to address a matter that they have written approval for over and over. And and you know, as a
The written
neighbor,
approval coming from.
I cannot pester my neighbors.
I
Being a
understand
neighbor.
that. Where is the written approval that you're talking of, that you've already received
Over and
from
over
the
again.
county?
I would have to pull up the original. Give me a second. If you give me 1 second, I can.
I'm
pull it up here.
confused about how the county signed off on something.
We received 1 second, please. I'm sorry. Let me just kind of go through this here. I'm gonna.
Mr. Zelaya, we're only interested in comments on this proposal. And that this proposal was submitted. I'm looking for a date, February 22nd. So
Yeah,
we're
we have-
interested in written feedback from your neighbors since February 22nd.
Sure. Now, can you explain to me how should I address their frustration with the fact that they have to continue signing petitions over and over? Because that's exactly their concern. They're like,
Sure,
I'm not
I would
sure
just
why
say
you're
that-
coming before us
I would say
over
that
and
you've
over,
had to
Jay.
revise the plan several times.
We've already approved your plan, Jay, and your company.
Jay, they did not approve your plan. The one that we're approving right now is not the same one that they've approved.
Okay, so I mean, of course, I'm not here to make it difficult, but we go back to the fact that the original denial was based on bedroom count, which had absolutely no bearings on our application ask.
Well, that application is gone, and that's not what we're doing here today. What we're here today for is the new plan, and that's what we don't have the community outreach for, which is a requirement for us to approve. It's in all of the paperwork and the application. Ms. Malice?
Sure. It's also in the paperwork that, I'm sorry. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I just wanted to say that it's also in the paperwork that civic association approval is not an absolute requirement.
Absolutely, you're right.
But it has been this whole time, and we're 8 months, 9 months later.
So what the neighborhood outreach and what the neighborhood's opinions and the association's opinions do for us as board members is they help us make a decision about compatibility. And without that, it does weigh heavily on our minds.
Okay, now how about the biggest opposing force is not present? They're not here to refute something they have been arguing strongly against. So what is the interpretation of this?
Well, that's why we asked you what your opinion of the meeting was on June 22nd.
And again, I explained that they were very well receptive about the fact that we've reduced the bedroom count. We've reduced the size of the house by 700 square feet, which is massive, which takes this home to a completely different home than it originally proposed, which we had full approval and support by staff, Stephen Rissy, Blake Bowen, Megan Ryan, and most of our adjoining neighbors that we can get a hold of. And so reducing the size must have obviously appeased the Civic Association because they're not here to argue otherwise.
Ms. Ballas?
Yeah, I understand your point, but we don't have any feedback from the adjoining neighbors.
Or surrounding
Well,
neighbors.
I can say that we can only do so much. And as we presented the original plan, they were very excited. And now they're actually they're fatigued that we continue to ask them for something that continues to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Therefore, as a courteous neighbor, we can't continue to pester them once they've said, hey guys, we love your plan. We've shown support. We cannot continue to sign paper over paper because we want to, we don't have the mental space for this. And I understand as a neighbor, if I move into this place, I don't want my neighbor next door to believe I'm a pestering person. And I've asked. And so there's a point as a neighborly person where you just say, okay, well, there's a point where you say, okay, well, I don't want to bother. We've asked, they've shown support. So I can't continue to just poke them when
Okay, so you're not going to do any more outreach is what you're saying.
We can do more outreach, but what I'm saying is I cannot force them because they've already shown support. And so for me, we have all the support of our adjoining neighbors and they feel the same. So it's very problematic when I'm like, hey, can you sign this other thing? And they're like, we already signed something. I don't know why you continue to ask us to sign something.
Okay, we get it. Mr. Kaplan.
We get it, it's fine.
Mr. Bowen.
I'm good.
Yes. So it might be obvious to the board, but just as we're talking about, neighborhood outreach and, any communications that have happened, each time this goes to the board, including this month, we do a new round of notifications to the immediately adjacent neighbors, and they are given the opportunity, of how to speak in letters about the scope of the request. We also put placards out again, as well as, running advertisements in the local newspaper twice leading up to the meeting. So there has been, whether or not Mr. Zelaya has done some outreach, we as county staff, are legally required to do some, and the directly adjacent neighbors were notified this time as well.
All right, does somebody, we want to continue discussion or somebody want to make a motion?
If no one else has a motion, I am prepared to make a motion,
I would just like to make a comment
please.
that I found the original application to be a pretty good solution to a very difficult site. I understood that there was a lot of outreach and support, and it's very similar to many of the newer structures in the immediate neighborhood, including right next door and behind for that matter. And I understood the feedback from the Civic Association, and I think they did speak at some of the earlier hearings. But generally, I felt as if responding by making the house smaller, and I read that to be not so much smaller as fewer residents, to be responsive. Some of the issues that the neighborhood raised on parking and street and that sort of thing is a neighborhood issue and not necessarily this property's issue. So I tend to agree. I understand the comments about feedback being stale, as it were, but we're not talking about a whole new thing. We're talking about a modification that had a lot of support initially. And so I agree with staff. I may be the outlier here, but it's a very difficult site. I think it's a pretty good solution. And so I just wanted to make that comment.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
I will make a motion, but mine is not the proposed motion, so it's probably significantly longer than the proposed motion. So if someone else wanted to make that motion, I wanted to defer.
I think a motion is better than nothing right now, so
Okay.
please proceed.
And so forgive me if this is the inappropriate method. This is my first time doing such a motion, so I will give it a shot and you can give me feedback. I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals deny the use permit V-11731-22-UP-2. Whereas the Board of Zoning Appeals has held a duly advertised public hearing on July 13th, 2022 on case number B-11731-22-UP-2 for a use permit to permit a street setback of 10.2 feet to the main building, 9.2 feet to the main building eve instead of 25 feet to the main building, 21 feet to the main building eve, a street setback of 10.4 feet to the front porch, 9.2 feet to the porch eve instead of 21 feet to the front porch, 19.5 feet to the porch eve, a street setback of 17.8 feet to the rear detached garage, 15.8 feet to the garage eve instead of 25 feet to the rear detached garage, 21 feet to the garage eve as required, all from 20th Street North, and to permit a side setback of 4.1 feet to the areaway instead of 5 feet to the areaway as required, regarding a new one-family dwelling and rear attached garage on a corner lot in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 2001 North George Mason Drive, John M. Langston. And whereas the BZA finds that the proposal will not, where the proposal will be in conflict with the purposes of the master plans and land use and zoning policies of the county, and whereas the BZA has determined that the modification is not compatible with development in the surrounding neighborhood, and that the structure's overall footprint, size, and placement are not similar to comparable structures on other properties surrounding the lot in question. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the BZA hereby denies special use permit case number B-11731-22-UP-2.
I will second.
Any other discussion? I will call the roll. Sorry, a motion has been made by Mr. Kaplan and seconded by Ms. Malice. I will now call the roll. Ms. Freshman,
No.
Ms. Malice,
Aye.
Ms. Clark. She's still here?
I will note that I do not see Ms. Clark in the meeting at the moment. Let me see if she has emailed with any tech issues.
Ms. Malice, would you mind sending her a text too?
Sure.
I do not have a message from Ms. Clark.
She is still listed in the participants.
Oh, good. Okay. Oh, wait, there's Seymour. I didn't click.
All right, she put a note into the chat. This is Stephen that says, I voted aye. My system is not allowing me to respond. So it sounds like she is having issues with the speaker.
Okay. All right. Ms. Clark votes aye. Mr. Kaplan.
Aye.
The chair votes no. The motion, the very long motion. I didn't even write down the note. So we're 3 to 2, right?
Mhm.
The motion passes 3 to 2. Ms. Malice.
Old hand.
Okay. I think that concludes this matter.
Okay. Moving on.
Ms. Clark, I'm sorry, Ms. Ryan or Mr. Bowen, can you please call the next case?
Sure, I believe Ms. Ryan's tech is working, so she plans to read this one.
Case number B11752. UP1 carryover.
I don't think it's working.
I will read this for Meg.
Sorry, Ms. Ryan.
And maybe we'll just switch computers moving forward. Is there audio interference or echo heard on your end?
It was when Miss Ryan was speaking.
Okay, great. I hear a little bit of feedback, but I think it's just in our room. So the next case number, I believe, is case number V-1752-22-UP-1. This is also a carryover item, a use permit request by Stephen Crawford on behalf of Edwin Gilliard, the owner, to permit a street setback of 20.0 feet to the building wall, 19 feet to the building eave, 14 feet to the porch, 12.5 feet to the porch eave, and 18 feet to the window well instead of 25 feet to the building wall, 21 feet to the building eave, porch, and window well, 19.5 feet to the porch eave from Franklin Road as required, and to permit a right side setback of 9.5 feet to the building wall and porch, 5.8 feet to the areaway instead of 10 feet to the addition wall and porch, 6 feet to the areaway as required, and to permit an aggregate side yard width of 14.5 feet instead of 18 feet as required regarding a 2-story addition, front porch, window well, and areaway on an existing one-family dwelling in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 2817 Franklin Road within the Lion Village Civic Association. Staff recommends that the board adopt the attached proposed resolution granting the use permit request with condition. And please note that we have an additional speaker who has signed up to speak on this item.
All right, I see Ms. Baker is back. Do any board members have questions for the staff? Ms. Malice?
Miss Ryan or Mr. Bowen, in the staff report, there's a note that there was a tree protection plan submitted with the application material. Am I overlooking it in our package? Because I don't see it.
Quickly take a look at the staff report to see if I can see that in the application package. I might switch places with Meg momentarily since she authored this staff report.
Because it would be very helpful to have that.
I believe the document I remember looked similar to a plat, Ms. Malice, and had a few trees indicated on it.
Is it in the platform? Okay.
It looks like it's just before the first
Oh, I
email
see.
comment.
I see. So it really just shows one. Oh, I see. There's a big, I got it. Thank you.
Yeah, there's quite a few there. It's not very detailed, but they're definitely on there.
It's those black dots. Thank you.
Hey, anybody else have any questions? Is the applicant here who wishes, oh, sorry, Mr. Kaplan.
Sorry, quick question for, I guess, staff. Does that, like a tree protection plan, does that become part of the application and the applicant becomes committed, or would that be part of a motion, a future motion?
Sorry, Mr. Kaplan, I didn't hear kind of the full text of that.
Does that tree protection plan become part of the requirements for this applicant, or would that have to be added to a motion? How does that work?
The tree protection plan is certainly part of the application package and the public record. I don't believe we proposed any specific conditions related to the tree protection plan, but the BZA, of course, has the power to impose such conditions as they see fit.
Understood. Thank you.
May I follow up, Ms. Arthurs?
Yes.
So now that I've located it, to me, it looks like it identifies where the existing trees are, but it's really not a tree protection plan. I mean, unless they're saying that all of these black dots will be protected in some way.
But it doesn't say that on the plat that they'll be protected. It just shows where they are.
Yeah, it just really shows. So is there more to the tree and I guess we can ask the applicant if there's more to the tree location plan than this.
That sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Yes, that's an appropriate course of action.
All right. Who's here to speak for the applicant?
Hi, my name is, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sure. So thanks for your time. My name is Ed Gilliland, and I am the owner and occupant of the house. I can address, particularly focus on the left side, since that's what's in contention. If you want me to cover other items, I'm happy to do so. But first of all, so concerning the left side of the house, there is no alteration to the existing left side setback. That's going to stay the same. The foundation would be built in place of the existing foundation there. Wouldn't go closer to the property line. There is a driveway on the left side that goes up to the property line. We do use the driveway a lot. We have people parking there, people walking up and down the driveway, taking the trash out, coming in and out of the basement from the driveway. So it is fairly active. And one of the concerns with the neighbor was that there were going to be some stairs added, some sunken stairs added where the part of the driveway is that would go down to the basement. And and I would just maintain that the addition of those stairs will not increase the level of activity along that driveway. It would still be the same. There'd actually be less of the driveway in the back, but the front part of the driveway would still be used. So that's one area of contention. The other thing is the tree. The main tree is the large walnut tree out front. I don't know if you're looking at the plat, but that's shown there as the most bolded tree. And that is 17 feet from the foundation. The driveway that runs next to the tree will not be disturbed. Only the very back part of the driveway that is way far away from that tree would be changed into green space. So we don't anticipate just doing anything to the driveway that should disturb the tree. And since the foundation on the is going to go and replace the existing foundation, we wouldn't anticipate any roots damage to the tree where the foundation is 17 feet away. The only thing that would happen is, of course, there'd be a front porch added on, and there'd be a piling driven to support the front porch, but it would not be like a foundation built around the front porch. So there's not going to be much disturbance even with the front porch. I'll stop there. If there are any questions. And just to clarify, yeah, there is not a tree protection plan, but we do not think that the tree would be harmed because there's not going to be much disturbance near it.
Okay. I see that there's somebody with a hand up. Oh, Ms. Clark.
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you. Or we could.
We heard her for a moment.
Yeah. All right. Well, Ms. Clark, speak up if you can. Mr. Kaplan, do you want to ask your question?
Quick question for the applicant. In the comments from the tree company, it is saying, and I just want to clarify for the record, that can we infer from your comments that keeping 10 feet away from that tree is what you're not going to be doing any construction within 10 feet of that tree?
That's correct. The only thing is there will be a porch added on to the front, and at certain places, the porch would have to have some pilings driven into the ground, but they would be in one location. So
did the company have any opinion on whether that would be detrimental to this tree?
the company did not. I did not retain the company. The neighbor retained the company.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you.
Ms. Arthurs, this is Portia Clark. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my question was if the applicant was willing to consider the recommendations that were made by the certified arborist.
So I understand the recommendation to be not to do any construction within 10 feet of this tree. So as I was saying, there would not be any construction, anything within 10 feet of the tree, except unless you count a piling that's driven down to support the front porch. And that I don't think that in and of itself would be enough to kill the tree. It's just driven down in one location.
And it wouldn't
Okay,
be
but are
digging,
you
trenching, or
agreeing
grading.
to
Sorry.
the pruning and the replacement if it does kill the trees?
I'm not sure. Am I sorry? Say that again, please.
Well, in the recommendations, it says that there needed to be some pruning done, and then it also makes a recommendation that if the digging kills the trees, would they be replaced?
I mean, yeah, I can. I don't want the tree. I want the tree to survive. You know, I like the tree. It's a great tree. I want it to survive. So we'll certainly do what it takes to keep it alive. I mean, of course, if it did die, yes. I mean, I replacing it is not, obviously couldn't replace it at the same maturity level it is now.
Okay.
But I could put a tree there.
Okay.
All right. Ms. Baker, would you like to speak?
Sure. Sorry for the long night, guys. I'll try and make this quick. And thank you, Ed. We had a nice conversation, and your architect has been we all support Ed's desire to upgrade his group house in this neighborhood. It will be beautiful one way or another. I have 3 concerns, and one is this tree that I'm sitting right under. It's tag tree 149. They gave the dimensions in their location plan, but they didn't do anything about how to save it. And if the arborist was slightly reticent to enumerate what he said that the heavy machinery going across this tree's roots will kill it. And so that's why he recommended, I think I see a lot of construction going on and they have 4 feet, I guess, or 2 feet on each side. He recommended 10 feet. So I guess I don't know how you handle that, but the in Ed's right, he's not going to replace this driveway, or at least not now. He's not going to replace this driveway. So, but it is the traffic across the asphalt where the roots lie right under. That is, you know, the dimensions to the house kind of matter because the arborist said 2 boughs will probably have to be cut off to accommodate the one bough. I could probably show you maybe is already kind of almost touching the house. So, but he says 2 of those boughs will have to be cut off to keep to keep it healthy. If my understanding was this is going to happen, and that's you know, we all want something to happen here, Ed, we do. But so those 2 boughs will have to be. I didn't want to prematurely, when Ed and I talked, and then when I hired the arborist to, like, you know, clean this tree up, I didn't want to prematurely cut those boughs off, but they will be inhibited by the 2-story addition. And then we didn't really talk about, it's not as important as this tree because it's obviously so beautiful to the shading of this entire block. And but the back trees, the location plan just showed how far they were from the house. They didn't show that they're going to be basically, I think, 1 foot from the patio that they're digging up. And, you know, so how do we accommodate the patio that they're digging up and to keep those trees? That is also important to me. So that's point 1 and point 2. And I think they're all probably, maybe, I don't know. My last point, now that I got your zoning report, which I didn't get last time, I understand that my point number 3 is probably moot, but doing my research and reading your report, I understand that the stairway that will actually be considered is an areaway, and so that's going to be allowed. So I get that. I object. I do, because it's not my fault that this house is constructed so close to the lot line. It's an original house. That will make the 2 of us less than 10 feet apart, like from his to mine. So I just wish, and I've asked, and it's an easy accommodation to just put that stairwell in the back of the house. So there's an easy accommodation to that. I understand that you're probably gonna, well, anyway, if the stairway were relocated to the back, I'd be happy. That's where my stairwell is. I have a mudroom in the back. I have a stairwell. So I'll continue to probably object to that, even though I know it's a loser of an argument. But this tree is what I really care about. Frames our house, both of our houses. It frames the street. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ms. Clark, do you have any more questions? I don't think she does. Ms. Malice?
No more
Yeah,
questions.
Thank you.
So Ms. Baker was talking mostly, her concerns were about trees that are on Mr. Gilliland's property in the back. Because I don't, there's some, okay.
There are some that are back there along the patio, and then she's also
Right.
the one that's on the front.
There's a few that are shown on her property, but I think it's the ones, those belong to the applicant. And this walnut seems to be right on the property line.
Yeah, the walnut's in the front of the house, and then there are 3 trees that are just to the right of the patio on his
Right.
lot, and then 3 trees that are on her lot.
Right. So it's sort of a shared ownership on the walnut tree. I guess this is a question for the applicant. If there was a 10-foot fence, surround a fence with a 10-foot diameter around this walnut tree, would it would it interfere with construction equipment?
So right now, the driveway goes right next to the tree. So presumably, and I'm not a contractor, so I don't know that I can answer that for sure. For them to access the house, I would think they would want to use that driveway.
Sure.
And if we said no, you can't use that driveway, then it could be, I have no idea, it could be a big inconvenience, and maybe it's going to cost me a lot more, or some other issues I can't answer the question from a contractor perspective. The one thing I will say is we do drive cars over that on that driveway right next to the tree now. We park there. I used to park there all the time. Everybody used to park there all the time. We don't park next to the tree as much now because the cars can get bombarded by the walnuts. And but we have parked a lot on that space. So yes, I guess it may be a weight difference with machinery, but suffice it to say that automobiles can sit all day long on the driveway next to the tree, and it doesn't hurt it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I appreciate the difficulty in navigating around it. I mean, how wide is that driveway? Do you know offhand?
9.5.
9.5. So it would basically cover the whole apron there.
Well, half of it, most of it, if you did 5 on either side of the tree.
If you did 5 on either side, right? Yeah.
But then I actually don't, is Miss Baker's driveway by the tree as well?
No.
Okay. For cutting off 2 driveways, that would be quite a thing. Mr. Kaplan?
I mean, my lob crazy idea in the dark here is, presumably the neighbor has a driveway, and if there is heavy equipment, it could go all the way around the back as a way to save this tree. Seems like a lot of effort, but if we all care about the tree so much, that's a solution for everyone that may or may not we can live with. I don't know. For whatever that's worth.
I mean,
My
you gotta get
driveway's
an
on the other
easement.
side of the house. That's why our houses are so close together, is because my house is built, my 1924 house is built inexplicably 5 feet from the lot line.
It's not uncommon, Miss Baker. And many houses are being built that close now.
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah. The other alternative is that you come over the heavy equipment comes over the curb through your front yard and makes a little jog around there.
Then they're gonna run into problems with the building of the deck or the porch on the front.
Sure. Yeah, it'd be a timing issue. I think we all want to save the tree. The question is, what is it, what's reasonable to actually require at this point? And I'll yield.
I think that the applicant has made a valiant effort to accommodate and has also made it abundantly clear that he would like to save the tree as well and has no intent on purposely destroying it. That's just my opinion. Does Mr. Kaplan or Ms. Mount, do either one of you have a question?
Old hand.
Does anybody want to make a motion?
Sure.
I'm going to say, Ms. Freshman, you've been quiet. It seems like you should make a motion.
Okay. I move Board of Zoning Appeals approve the attached proposed resolution approving use permit V-11752-22-UP1, subject to the conditions listed. Okay.
Board members.
No, I will second it, but I may make an amendment.
Okay.
We should do that now then, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to say, I want to add something to the approval, just to, be on the record that we do want there to be some tree protection or consideration of tree protection, without being specific as to what it is. And I know that that will drive staff crazy because it's not actionable, but I do want, I would like to add that condition number 6, that the applicant will take all possible measures to protect tree number 149.
Can I suggest reasonable measures? All possible can denote a lot of work.
You got it. So I'm asking unanimous consent to ask condition number 6, that the applicant will take all reasonable measures to protect tree number 149 during construction.
Before we
No
move
objection.
on, Mr. Bowen, I feel like you probably need to weigh in on something. You're on mute.
Thank you. Yeah, the issue with that sort of language could be that the zoning administrator would have to interpret that language. It's very vague. It would be very difficult for her to say whether or not that condition was met. To the extent possible, additional specificity would be probably desirable in that case.
Do you have any suggestions for how to make it more specific?
Not in particular. I can see if my colleagues, Ms. Ryan and Mr. Rissy have any thoughts. I know with issues in the past, with trees in particular, the zoning administrator is not herself an arborist. She's not, necessarily empowered to know how to best take care of trees. So conditions related to plantings, foliage, trees, that sort of thing have been difficult to enforce or to ensure that they are met in the past.
Personally, I feel like the applicant has the intention of preserving the tree, and I don't feel like their application or anything that they've stated for the record implies that he's not going to protect the tree in the process. So personally, I don't know that it's necessary to put something in there, and then we have the issue of the vagueness and enforcement. So while I understand the intent completely, I think that, his intent is also to keep the tree. So I don't know that it's totally intended.
I'm satisfied with this discussion in the record, and I'm willing to withdraw my request for unanimous consent.
Sounds good. Okay. A motion has been made by Ms. Freshman, seconded by Ms. Malice. Any other discussions? I will call the roll. Ms. Freshman.
Aye.
Ms. Malice.
Aye.
Ms. Clark.
Aye.
Mr. Kaplan.
Aye.
Okay. Same for the tree, though.
The chair votes aye. The motion to grant the application passes 5-0. Thank you guys very much.
And thank you to all the parties for taking another look at this. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Ryan or Mr. Bowen, will you please call the next case?
Yes. Case number B1176022UP1, a use permit request by Nicholas and Elizabeth Chong. The owners to permit a street setback of 13.8 feet to the main building, 13.7 feet to the main building need instead of 25 feet to the main building, 21 feet to the main building need as required. The street setback of 14.9 feet to the porch, 13.7 feet to the porch eve instead of 21 feet to the porch, 19.5 feet to the porch eve as required, and a street setback of 10.8 feet to the window well, areaway, and stormwater planter box instead of 21 feet as required. All from First Road North regarding construction of a new one-family dwelling on a corner lot in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 115 North Irving Street in the Lion Park Civic Association. Staff recommends that the board adopt the attached proposed resolution granting the use permit request with conditions. Please note that we have received additional speakers in this handout.
Is there any supplemental material? Did I miss you saying that?
No supplemental material for this case.
Okay, great. Mr. Bowen?
Just a quick administrative matter. For anyone who might have joined the meeting late, I did want to note that there was a case between the last two, V-11759-22-UP-2, and that was addressed in the group motion at the start of the meeting. So that's why it might appear that we skipped it for anyone who joined late.
Ms. Freshman?
Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify that this is, the house is being completely removed. They are not building on the existing foundation. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, because typically I'm leery of completely new construction that can't meet the setbacks. But sometimes when it's it's a rebuild or on a house that was already non-conforming, that's more understandable and forgivable. But I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Ms. Malice?
Just again, there's a correspondence in our package regarding a curb cut driveway location. Does that have relevance for us? It's the second to the last page in our application, or the third and the second to the last. Wondered if that if that was some information that we needed to consider.
Ms. Malice, just for a quick point of clarification, was that a question for staff or a question for your colleagues?
Staff.
Okay, could you repeat it? I'm not sure if you wanted Meg to hear it or if I was muted and didn't.
Okay.
I don't know. Well,
There is material in our package relating to a discussion about the location of a driveway. And I wondered if that had relevance to our consideration tonight.
and what page is that comment?
It's the third and second to the last.
Second to last page in the packet.
And the third to the last. It starts.
Ms. Mellis, I think that the new house moves the driveway farther away from the corner. So I took that to mean that they just have to get the approval for a different curb cut.
And have one made.
That's not something we would normally get involved in, and I just wondered.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, curb cuts are generally regulated by the Department of Environmental Services, DES, so it's not specifically a zoning process.
So it has no relevance to us?
We do prompt applicants to speak to DES for such new curb cuts. It's part of the application process. They'll check a box saying that they're proposing a new curb cut. And at that point, we'll prompt them to reach out to a DES contact to speak with them and determine what the processes they would need to go through to get that curb cut.
Okay, but the fact that it's included in our package is not relevant to us.
I don't think it's specifically a zoning matter that the BZA needs to weigh in on.
Okay.
So this has no bearing on anything. It's just my own curiosity. So the driveway right now is on First Road North and it's going to change to North Irving?
No.
Is that right?
I think they're both, I think it's just that the one is on Irving is now closer to the corner. Maybe the applicant can address it, but
okay.
That's correct.
It's moving to the other side of the house. But.
It is.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm just being curious. Okay. Ms. Malice, do you have any more questions?
Nope.
Okay. Is the applicant is here. Would you like to speak?
Sure, I'll say a few things. My name is Nick Chong. Our house is located on this corner lot. We've been here since 2015. We love it. We've kind of outgrown it at this point, but we love our neighbors and want to stay in the neighborhood. We're just seeking relief from the setback requirements on the first road side of our lot. The rebuilt house would be very similar, a similar distance away from First Road as the current house's legacy structure, which is our one-car garage on the current side of the driveway, should we receive approval. So I really hope you allow us to move forward with this project because we love the neighborhood, we love our neighbors, and like to stay.
Ms. Malice,
Old hand.
Mr. Kaplan.
After our last discussion, I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about this 200-year-old white oak tree in your backyard. Do you know on your plat what tree that refers to?
I think we're talking about the one directly closest to our back patio now. And
Okay.
that one is already, we've tried to save it for many years. The heart has already been cut out of it. I was here when the arborist came and he was in agreement. This tree can go. Our favorite tree is going to stay. We're not going to interfere with it at all. And that's on our neighbor's property.
In your letter, in particular, the addition will preserve and protect a 200-year-old white oak. So is that the tree we're talking about, or is that a different tree?
I am not the best
That's
at.
the neighbor's tree.
That's the neighbor's tree. Okay.
Yeah, that's going to stay.
And do you have a plan to preserve that? Is there?
Yes, stay as far as possible away from it.
That's right.
Thank you.
That's a good plan.
It's a good plan. I like it.
Well thought out. Anybody have any questions? All right, I believe there is a speaker. Mr. Schindler, are you here?
Yes, ma'am. I'm the home designer. So I was just here to answer any specific design questions.
Oh, fabulous. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Schindler? All right. Anybody like to make an motion?
Miss Arthurs?
Yes.
I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals approve the attached proposed resolution approving the use permit V-11760-22-UP-1, subject to the conditions listed. I'm particularly gratified to see that, they've got great neighborhood support.
Second.
All right, a motion has been made by Ms. Malice, seconded by Ms. Freshman. If there is no further discussion, I will call the roll. Ms. Freshman.
Aye.
Ms. Malice.
Aye.
Ms. Clark.
Aye.
Mr. Kaplan.
Aye, and I want to second that comment. This is a corner lot with unanimous outreach.
Well done. The chair votes aye. The motion to grant the application passes 5-0. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you very much.
Now the fun part starts.
Yeah.
This is true. Thanks again.
All right, Mr. Bowen or Miss Ryan, can you please call the next case?
Yes, case number B1176122UP1, a use permit request by Stephen Center on behalf of Dina Koppelman, the owner, to permit a rear setback of 18.1 feet to the rear deck instead of 21 feet as required regarding a new rear deck to an existing one-family dwelling in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 60 South Aberdeen Street in Arlington Forest. Staff recommends that the board adopt the attached proposed resolution granting the permit conditions, and we have not received any speaker sign-up or supplemental material for this application.
Fabulous. Does anybody have any questions for the staff?
Very good neighborhood outreach. I'm prepared to make a motion.
Fine with me.
Beat me to it.
Fire away.
You beat him to it. He was ready to go too.
Am I up?
Yes, please.
Okay, I move Board of Zoning Appeals approve the attached proposed resolution approving use permit V-11761-22-UP1, subject to the conditions listed.
Second.
I'll second.
Overwhelming seconds. I love it. A motion has been made by Ms. Freshman, seconded by Ms. Clark. If there's no further discussions, I will call the roll. Ms. Freshman,
Aye.
Ms. Malice,
Aye.
Ms. Clark,
Aye.
Mr. Kaplan.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion to grant the application passes 5-0. That was super easy.
We need more like it.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Again, great outreach.
Thank you.
I didn't even ask the applicants if they were here. Thanks for coming, guys.
You seem to
That was fast. Mr. Ryan or Mr. Bone, can you guys please call the next case?
Yes, Lindsay, the next case is case number V-11762-22-VA-1. This is a variance request by Emily Inglis on behalf of Charles and Sarah Rash, the owners, to permit a main building footprint of 2,435 square feet, 30.5%, instead of the maximum permitted main building footprint of 28%, regarding a proposed rear screened porch addition to an existing one-family dwelling located in the R8 zoning district on the premises known as 6230 30th Street North in the Williamsburg Civic Association. Staff recommends that the board adopt the attached proposed resolution denying the variance requests. An alternate resolution to grant the variance request has also been provided should the BZA see fit to approve the variance request as advertised. And as of right now, we have not received any speaker slips for this case, nor do we have any supplemental materials.
Ms. Freshman.
This is another unfortunate example where a builder has maxed out and not given the owner an opportunity for any kinds of an addition. So it really isn't a hardship, and I can agree with the staff's conclusion, but I think it's unfortunate that we've had other cases like this where the smallest bit of addition of a deck or anything, or any kind of a porch or anything, puts them over the limit. But it really was the fault of the developer. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Is the applicant here to speak, or someone on the applicant's behalf?
Yes, I'm here. Emily Inglis. I'm the owner's agent, landscape architect for the project. And I wanted to address, as Ms. Freshman rightly pointed out, that the very little space left over by the home builder for the use, further use or expansion of the property leaves only about 50 square feet of area for a potential screened porch or any kind of additional porch structure on the back of the property, which does not really make a practical or feasible screened-in porch. So it would eliminate that as a possibility were it not to be some sort of detached structure. And were it to be a detached, encroach into the property further, take over lot coverage, as opposed to this very modest solution, which is only going over the variance of 192 square feet in order to achieve, again, the very modest footprint for the screened-in porch for my client. The client has an outpouring of neighborhood support. They have reached out to 10 neighbors at the moment, and all have agreed and approved. They agree that this is in keeping with the neighborhood characteristic and in characteristic with the home. There would require some kind of grade change, some kind of deck or steps to alleviate the grade change between the client's existing rear door and the backyard area and the basement walkout. And as such, that the current requirements don't really allow that to be any kind of usable space in terms of a screened-in porch, which would provide not only shade, but an area where the family can take respite from the lovely mosquitoes that do inhabit this area. So we're really trying to make it as usable of a space as possible. On the lot coverage, on the neighborhood and the architecture of the neighborhood. And we are also very cognizant that while this would exceed the building lot coverage, we are not exceeding the total lot coverage or even getting close to it. So our hope is that the BZA will approve this motion with the knowledge that we have an outpouring of neighborhood support and that we are not, in fact, going to exceed the total lot coverage for the property. Does anyone have any questions for myself?
Ms. Malice.
Ms. Ingles, have you looked at the staff report on this item?
I have, yes.
Okay, so as Ms. Freshman indicated, the standards for approving a variance are set out in the state code, and they're very strict. And we have had cases like this before, and we have not been able to grant the variance because it does not meet the standard that the state has set forth.
Yes, but I do believe that Blake and Megan have provided us with an alternative resolution that they believe will fit the requirements if you do approve.
I don't understand.
The alternative solution or resolution, Blake, maybe you could speak more to that, where it says that we would maintain this basically advertise and not make any additional changes.
I'm sorry, you
you cut out a little bit.
And I'm not sure what your last part.
I apologize. Yes, on page 6 of the staff report and the application materials, the zoning appeal board has provided an alternative resolution to approve the design as submitted with their approval. So
no, that's not what it means.
Yeah, so I think with this, the alternative is that the rear porch won't be enclosed. Is that correct, Mr. Bowen?
I don't think so. I don't think there's an alternative plan. I think it's just
an alternative resolution.
Alternative resolution.
Yeah.
It's just, all it is language that if we disagree and find it's a hardship or some other exception, it gives us language but it's not an alternative in that sense. It just, we don't have to invent the language.
I see. So in terms of the hardship, I would say that it does, the lot and the way that the builder and the developer left the plan does not allow for a screened-in porch, and which does eliminate a usability of the rear yard, in particular in this neighborhood where there are stormwater management problems and that there is a lack of shade from some development that has happened in the past. As well as, again, the grade change that we mentioned from the upper level to the lower level does require some sort of, some sort of intervention. So whether that be a deck or a screened porch, there needs to be something between that elevation in order to make the yard and the backyard more usable.
So those are matters of convenience for the applicant, and I know they're very important, but they don't come to the standard that has been set out by the legislation that we must go by.
Mr. Bowen.
Yes, just to add a little bit of clarity to the alternative resolution. In preparing the alternative resolution, the variance criteria that we volunteered that we thought was probably the most applicable, if the board was inclined to approve the case as advertised, is that the granting of the variance would alleviate a hardship due to a physical condition relating to the property or improvements thereon, which existed upon the effective date of the zoning ordinance, which would basically be to get at the idea that the applicants are hindered a bit just by the existing improvements on the property that are already built close to the maximum footprint size, and therefore it would be difficult for them. It's a hardship for them because they really can't add space that might otherwise be available had the developer built a home a little smaller.
The hardship is with the land. And this lot is no different than any other lot, as per your staff report. So I think, the fact that the developer maxed out the building footprint when he built it can't be considered a hardship for us in this case. That's my opinion.
Yes, and of course, our main proposed resolution is for denial, just in case the board was inclined to think a certain way. That was the variance criteria I thought came closest to being met.
Yeah.
And I'll just add that the condition of a house being built to lot limits is also a point number 3 that we of a finding we have to make, is that the property is not so general or reoccurring as to make it reasonably practical to formulate a regulation. So if the county board wants to solve this problem, it is a regularly reoccurring problem that could be solved by the county board if in their wisdom they chose to do so.
Okay. Would
Ms.
anybody like?
Alvis, I'm
Go ahead.
prepared to make a motion.
Thank you.
Oh, hi, I'm Sarah Rash. I'm here as the property owner.
Okay.
Oh, I just wanted to say hello. Thank you for your time tonight. And right now, currently, the back door to our home has a 6-foot drop. And that's where the change in the elevation from not just the front to the back, but also from the side of the house. It has a slope from the front to the back and from side to side. And so currently we have a back door to nowhere on the back of the house. And we are trying our variance for this 192 square feet additional main building footprint is so that we can kind of have a transitional area between that back door and to the backyard. And that's
I think we understand. I think we understand the difficulty. It's just that we've seen it before. The developer builds a door off the kitchen to nowhere and leaves the owner no room to operate. And it's not something that we can remedy.
Well, we are still under the total lot coverage. Emily, and you can, I think you probably have those numbers, but it's pretty significant.
Correct. We are only seeking to exceed the building lot coverage by 2.4%, but we would still be underneath the total lot coverage by, I believe, 4.6%. So we are still well below the total lot coverage for the lot. Whereas if we were to do an alternative solution, we may have to encroach further into the setbacks and have more lot coverage in order to actually meet the zoning standards, and to have something that would fit into the current rulings, would actually take up more space, encroach on, and not, I think, as not allow again for that same function.
I completely understand your argument, but we have to follow, there has to be a compelling reason for us to grant a variance. Most variances are not approved because the standards are so high. This is different than a use permit. Variances are have a higher standard, and it's it's incumbent on us to follow those standards.
Anyone have any other questions? Ms. Clark, you were going to make a motion, right? I'm sorry, Ms. Malice, you were going to make a motion, right?
I was.
Okay. Please proceed.
I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals adopt the attached proposed resolution denying the variance request. in case number V-11762-22-VA-1.
Second.
A motion has been made by Ms. Malice, seconded by Ms. Freshman. If there's no more discussion, I will call the roll. Ms. Freshman.
Aye.
Ms. Malice.
Aye.
Ms. Clark.
Aye.
Mr. Kaplan.
Regretfully, aye.
Ditto. The chair regretfully votes aye. The motion to deny the application passes 5-0.
This is a matter that, comes up, but it's the builder maxes out and leaves us no alternatives.
I think the applicant promptly left. Mr. Bowen or Ms. Ryan, please call the next case.
Yes, I believe Meg will call this one. Thank you.
Case number V-1176322GP1, a use permit request by Eric R. Johnson on behalf of Daniel and Elise McCarthy, the owners, to permit a street setback of 21.9 feet to the wall of the addition instead of 20 feet as required from North Madison Street, and to permit a right side setback of 5 feet to the wall of the addition and porch, 4 feet to the porch eave, and 0.2 feet to relocate accessory structure, the shed, instead of 10 feet to the wall of the addition, porch, and shed, 6 feet to the porch eave as required, and an aggregate side yard width of 12.6 feet instead of 8 feet as required in the R6 zoning district regarding a new front and rear addition, front porch, relocated shed, driveway, and retaining walls to an existing one-family dwelling in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 1918 North Madison Street, Highland Park, Overlay, Knowles. Staff recommends that the board adopt the proposed resolution granting the use permit request for this addition. And note that there were supplemental material, but no speaker sign-ups for this case.
Does the board have any questions for the staff?
I guess I do. I just, there's two plats in here, and I guess the plat that applies, there's two plats in here with the same date. And I think I understand which one we're approving. But since one is sort of, I guess, existing conditions and the other is the new one, I just wanted to make sure.
Yes.
Yeah, the first one in the staff report listed as existing conditions, and the second one.
They talked about moving the shed, right?
Yes.
But I don't see the shed moved on the other one, on the new one.
It's pushed back a little bit further from the street.
The shed is in the back of the property?
It's on the right-hand side.
I see a shed in the back left corner.
Not that one, it's a smaller one. Near the window well and the AC unit on the right-hand side of the property.
Okay, I see.
And that sheds.
Relocated shed. Okay, so does the other shed remain?
Yeah, that one's not part of this application.
So it's not relocating, it's adding a new shed.
No, it's an existing shed getting pushed back. So there's a small shed on the existing plat. That's
Oh, I see it. I see it. Okay, so it's that shed that's moving around. Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is the applicant here?
We are, and our architect who applied on our behalf is also here.
Wonderful. Would you guys like to speak?
Yes, thank you so much for seeing us today. I'm not sure if this is orthodox, but we just had a chance to sort of preliminarily shop our plans around to some contractors in the event that we would be able to do any of this. We just wanted to have a sense, and we got the impression that costs are still pretty exorbitant right now. And Sure, it's wishful thinking, but in the event that any of this would be approved, we were hoping we could maybe defer a couple of months just to extend our 12 months, maybe October, as a starting date, and just give ourselves the option. I doubt things will fall much in this area, but to see if the market stabilizes, if supply chains, you know, are less disrupted, that prices go down a little bit. Is that a possibility?
Would you guys, do you guys want to do that? Do you want us to go ahead and have this hearing now and discuss this and then defer, or do you want us to just defer for a couple months outright and then you guys can get your ducks in a row and come back?
So we actually just had a question. We put together all of our materials. We're ready to present. Eric, our architect who's on here and our next door neighbor, was back and forth in emails and I was kind of following, but it seemed, he said he spoke to somebody, I'm not sure who, Eric, if you want to chime in, who said that our option would be deferment. But if there's a possibility of extension or of doing it now and then having it start in October, that would be amazing.
I think we probably should defer because there's a year time limit once it's approved to get your building permit. So I think we're probably best to defer a couple months. How long are you guys thinking?
We're hoping for October, but I don't know what your docket looks like if it's already booked up then.
I don't believe so. Ms. Malice, did you have a?
I have a, do we have discretion to change that date? And that's a question to staff.
Discretion in what regard, Ms. Malice?
To extend the period of time in which a permit has to be pulled.
The 1 year expiration window?
Yes.
No, that's set in the zoning ordinance for 1 year. So that would be a text amendment to the zoning ordinance that would be needed.
All right.
We did it for COVID, but.
Yeah, that's right. We did.
Never mind. I think we should just defer it to October and because they may, when they do enough shopping around, they may end up actually tweaking the plan. So it's better to have a final submission.
That sounds
Is
good.
October too soon?
Well, we appreciate your thoughtfulness about this.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. I hope this didn't take up too much time considering we're just asking to push it forward.
Is all right. Does someone want to make a motion?
Sure, I will.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Case V-11763-22-UP1, I move deferral to October 12, 2022, BZA.
Second.
Motion has been made by Ms. Freshman, seconded by Ms. Malice. I will call the roll. Ms. Freshman.
Aye.
Ms. Malice.
Aye.
Ms. Clark. I think she's frozen again. Mr. Kaplan.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion to defer the application to the October 12th, 2022 BZA has passed 4-0.
I see her, but she's frozen. Yeah, okay. With Miss Clark not voting.
The white one.
Oh,
Can you hear me? I vote aye.
okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, these technical challenges.
All right, I'll restate it. The motion to grant deferral, thank you, to the October 12th, 2022 BZA hearing passes 5-0.
Plug in, please.
Can I make
Thank
a
you so much
quick
for your time.
comment?
Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Can I make a quick comment for the applicant?
Sure.
If you decide to make any changes, make sure to contact staff early and often. We would prefer not another deferral in October.
And
Okay,
your
thank you.
neighbors, if it's
And
a
your neighbors, yep.
significant change.
All right. Ms. Ryan or Mr. Bowen, can you call the next case?
Yes, case number B1176422UP1, a use permit request by Paul Arquette on behalf of Thomas and Emily. The owner to permit a setback of 16.9 feet to the porch, 14.4 feet to the porch, 21 feet to the porch, 19.5 feet to the porch as required from the rezoning expansion of an existing front porch on an existing one-family dwelling in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 131 North Edgewood Street. Staff recommends that the board adopt the attached proposed resolution granting the use permit request with conditions, and staff has not received any supplemental material or speaker sign cards.
Wonderful. Does anybody have any questions for the staff? Ms. Malice.
Old hand.
I love that phrase. Is the applicant here and would they like to speak?
I am here, Paul Arquette.
Hi.
Okay, hello. Okay, this project is modest in scope. It's an existing front porch that's more of a stoop than a porch. It's merely 16 feet wide. They want to add, the owners, Thomas Carcone and Emily Heed, would like to add 8 feet to either side. So there'd be a little bit of a seating area. So it's my understanding that one reason the use permit process exists in lieu of the more arduous variance is to encourage the installation, is to encourage the building of front porches. This existing front porch is of course grandfathered, but because it is so close to the street, in order for it to be widened, that the new construction would not conform to the current zoning ordinance. So we respectfully request relief from the zoning ordinance in order to make this porch double it from 30 square feet to 60 square feet. The owners reached out to the neighbors. There's one of the house. There's 3 neighbors that we tried to contact. One of the houses, the house immediately to the north of 131 North Edgewood Street, has been demolished. It's a big pile of dirt now. The one to the south, the owners are on extended vacation, and across the street there's a couple of houses. One of them, the owner has not been able to reach has not been able to find anyone at home, but the other one did sign a statement of support saying that they support the proposed enlargement for this house front porch.
Does anybody have any questions?
So, raise my hand.
Good. Ms. Malice.
So, your testimony is that the applicants reached out to 130 by mail, certified mail.
Yes, we tried to find the applicant at home, but we're unable to. So we sent them a certified mail to try to get a response from them.
And also at the same to 127.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, 127. The neighbors are out of town now.
Mr. Kaplan.
Were those certified letters accepted or were they returned to sender?
They apparently were accepted. They were not returned to the sender.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
Motion?
Ms. Malice. An old hand.
Old hand.
Motion?
Yes, please.
I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals adopt the attached proposed resolution approving use permit V-11764-22-UP1, subject to the conditions listed in the proposed resolution.
Second.
The motion has been made by Mr. Kaplan, seconded by Ms. Freshman. I will call the roll. Ms. Freshman.
Aye.
Ms. Malice.
Aye.
Ms. Clark.
Aye.
Mr. Kaplan.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion to grant the application passes 5-0. Enjoy the front porch sitting.
Thank you very much. Okay, appreciate your time. Have a great evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Mr. Bone and Ms. Ryan, can you please call the next case?
Sure. Just as a note, initially you have a group motion that was made for V-1165-22VA1 and its associated permit, the V-1176522UP1. So for anybody who's in, those are taken care of in the group motion. The next case is V-1176622UP1, a use permit request by Ken Reed on behalf of 3500 7th Street LLC, the owner to permit a street setback of 15.5 feet to the side porch, 14.5 feet to the porch eve, instead of 21 feet to the side porch, 19.5 feet to the porch eve as required from 7th Street North, to permit street setback of 15.6 feet to the addition over the existing non-conforming attached garage, 13.9 feet to the eve instead of 25 feet to the addition, 21 feet to the eve as required from North Lincoln Street, to permit a street setback of 20.1 feet to the new rear addition, 19.2 feet to the eve instead of 25 feet to the addition, 21 feet to the eve as required from North Lincoln Street, and to permit a rear setback of 8 feet to the wall of the addition instead of 10 feet as required regarding a new addition over an existing non-conforming attached garage and a new rear addition to an existing one-family dwelling on a corner lot in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 3500 7th Street North, Mashing Heights. Staff recommends that the board adopt the attached proposed resolution granting the use permit. We have received additional speaker and we have supplemental material for this case.
Okay. Does anybody have questions for the board or for the staff? With Mal.
Ms. Ryan, which frontage is considered the front?
That's it.
I'll be happy to answer that one, Miss Malice. On this property, it's a corner lot. The shorter of the two street frontages is considered the front. On this property, the two frontages are pretty close, and the house is addressed on 7th Street. So to most people, it probably reads that 7th Street North is the front of the house. But for zoning division staff, and this is just the way our zoning ordinance is written, it's actually Lincoln Street is considered the front, based on it being a slightly shorter frontage.
By like 3 feet.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so the back is where you're looking for an 8-foot rear setback, right? That's the back.
Yes, that's correct. And I believe in this case, the applicants were operating under the assumption that the technical rear was the side and the technical side was the rear. And if they flip-flop those setbacks, it would have been by right. And so that I think there was, kind of a peculiar feature of this property with the frontage appearing to be one way, but actually being another from a zoning standpoint.
Yeah, so they thought they were in compliance with their plan and they're now not. Okay.
3 feet is
I
pretty small.
have another question for staff. In my packet anyway, there were 6 copies of an owner statement for variance and use permit. Are they all the same?
Let me check that packet. I know in some of our applications, there were multiple owners or applicants noted in the actual application. And if there's a variance and a use permit, each owner gets kind of their own report. So I know for the preceding case, which is V-11765, and for both the variance and the use permit, I believe there were 6 reports in that one. Based on the fact that there were 3 applicants and property owners noted in the application. And so 3 times each one getting a report for the variance and the use permit created 6 in that case. For this property, let me check. I know
there's 3 members of the LLC.
Okay, sorry, I'm getting those 2 confused. You're right. There are 3 members of this LLC, and I believe that's why we have so many.
But it's the same document, just printed 6 times?
Yep, that's the way the system is set up to print the reports.
Okay.
It's a great use of paper. All right. Anybody else have any questions? All right. Is the applicant here and would they like to speak?
Yes, I'm here. My name is Mubashir Khan. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi there. Good evening, everyone. I'm the owner, and my architect, Mr. Ken Reed, is also here as well. And first of all, I would like to say thanks to the BZA staff. They were great. They help us with this case a lot. Mr. Blake and Meg are great, and of course, thanks to you guys. Ms. Malice, you are absolutely right. We had the same confusion, what you just picked up, because we bought the property and we designed the property based on assumption that the 8 feet side is the side yard and the 10 feet should be the rear yard. Till lately, we found out due to the corner lot, it's flip flop. So what we thought of side yard was rear yard, and right. So, and you are absolutely right. We did not plan to have these setbacks as whatever relief. We were not looking for relief of setbacks. The only reason we are here is we wanted relief on the street setbacks. Due to the limitation of the lot, as you can see, it's only 5,000 square feet lot, which is smaller than the regular R6 lots. And this is a very tiny house. When we bought the property, it's only 2 bedrooms and 1 bath there. So we definitely need to expand the house. So it's only like probably 600 square feet inside the house right now on one level. So we went to the Arlington board, and with Mr. Blake's and Meg Ryan's help, we came up with this design, and we got continuous feedback. And we also recently we did community outreach, extensive outreach as well. 3-4 times we went to the neighborhood, talked to a lot of neighbors. We got 11 or 12 letter of support. And during the latest outreach, just last weekend on July 10th, we figured that some of the neighbors have some concerns over the trees. I don't know how they got this misunderstanding that we are removing the magnolia tree or we are cutting some trees. We love trees, and I'm a big supporter of the trees. And our plan is to keep as much as trees possible. And the magnolia tree is not in our way of construction. Renovations, definitely that's staying. And I'm here to answer any of the questions if you have. And basically, I'll just let my architect speak a little bit as well. But I'm here to answer any of your questions. Mr. Ken, are you there? Mr. Reed? Ken Reed? It seems like, I know I can see KR is here. I believe he's in
here.
That's his name. Yes.
So
yeah, but anyhow, I was just hoping that Mr.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay.
Yes,
Yeah, I was trying to get the unmute going. This is Ken Reed, the architect for the project. Our proposal is to build straight up from the existing house, very small house on a non-conforming lot, which is already very close to the street. Normally, we'd be allowed to do that as a by right, except that there's an existing basement garage toward the Lincoln and 7th Street corner. And we're informed by staff that even though there's an intervening room over the garage, we would still need to seek board approval to build over the garage. So the plan is to build straight up over the existing structure and to build to the rear. Well, what we thought was the rear, which is actually the side. And and we're seeking board relief for the building over of the garage. We do want to take the existing very small stoop and create a front porch toward the 7th Street side. And since the county zoning ordinance encourages front porch, we would like to have something nice there that people can sit out and enjoy. The idea for the rear, the side addition was to extend straight back from the body of the original house. And that does create a bit of encroachment at the corner of that. The lot is a very odd shape. It comes to a very acute angle at the corner of Lincoln and 7th, which means that instead of having a rectangular buildable area, we have a very tight trapezoid. And the side buildable line is quite small compared to the one toward the 7th Street side. So we're proposing to fill out the site in that way. The existing magnolia tree, which is at the corner of 7th and Lincoln, since we're reusing the existing foundations and existing structure, we should not be interfering with that tree in a way that should damage it. We will need to do a bit of trimming to remove it from where it's overhanging the existing house. But the roots should not be affected by any of the new construction. There's also another tree along the 7th Street side. Again, should not be affected by any of the new construction. However, the trees on the south side of the property, those will be affected by new construction because the foundations will cause either damage or severe root pruning to those trees.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant or the architect? All right, we have a host of speakers tonight, so we are going to limit the time to the allowable countdown timer that's on the screen, so please pay attention, speakers. Ms. Larson, are you here?
I am, if y'all can hear me.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I have what I think of as the house behind in the back, which y'all are calling the side. As Mr. Reed noted, both lots are oddly shaped. I know they were chopped up some 60 or 70 years ago from the original plot, but I wrote a submitted statement, and I'll just try to sort of summarize given the time limit. I'm concerned about the scale of this property, about the doubling of height with a roof deck plopped on top of that, and how that is going to tower over my house. I can't speak for the neighbor to the west, but I do believe that's going to affect light and airflow. And then regarding privacy, the back of my house where the bedrooms and bath are turn in towards 3500's, what I think of as the backyard. And there is literally only about 2 feet between a bedroom and the bath and the property line. So when they talk about pushing out and building out in the back, that gives me great concern, especially for reasons of privacy. So I am objecting to that. Regarding, and as to that beautiful architectural rendering, I appreciate it, but could not understand if the original request to go out in the back pushes them 5 to 7 feet from my house, and if that's the porch or not. Finally, some folks in the neighborhood have told me that during outreach, this project was not described correctly to them, and that they thought that this was a couple of bedrooms for one of the investors' family. So I discount those letters, and it concerns me that so much emphasis being placed on outreach given that situation. And you do have letters to that effect.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Kaplan.
I'm sorry, what address?
632 North Lincoln, just to the south.
Yep, I see it. Thank you.
If all applicants state their address before they speak.
The
tree is split between 2 properties, the silver maple, and some people think it's 2 trees, some people think it's 1, but I'm concerned about how that is handled. It is about 2 feet from the side of my house. That's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I just ask staff a question here, just to clarify? So that's a side setback now to her house?
That's correct.
And that is being done by right?
Yes.
There's no relief being asked for there.
Side. It's this rear line right here.
Yeah, we really have trouble hearing you, Miss Ryan.
Right, I'm using Blake's speaker. This is the rear lot line that is being requested relief.
So
that's not the lot line I'm addressing.
Right.
This is the side lot line. And
yes.
That's by right. Is that correct?
Right.
There's no relief being asked for on that line.
Well, Mr. Reed, I think, is saying they're going to revise the plan, or perhaps I misunderstood his letter.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Who is the next speaker?
Hi, yes, Evan Marr here.
Yes. Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you tell us where you live?
Yes, I'm the other adjacent neighbor, so I live at 3506 7th Street.
3506, okay.
And as one of the two immediate neighbors, along with the previous speaker, I'm here to express my opposition to the variance application before the board today. When my family moved here 2 years ago, we chose this house and this block specifically because of its charm and character. And, part of that was a quiet street where houses are proportionally sized. And let me be clear, we fully welcome the development of 3500 7th Street. However, we're really concerned, disheartened to see that developers are planning to build a massively oversized house next door. And if completed, it would have a negative effect on neighboring properties like mine. It would also disrupt the character of 7th Street and I think Ashton Heights more broadly. Let me lay out my principal concerns. One is the sheer number of variances. I'm concerned that all these variances being sought on this small lot indicates sort of a real massive transformation of this property from a modest 2-bedroom to an imposing 6-bedroom tower with a roof deck on top. I'm perhaps most concerned about the height. The property already sits on a small hill, and adding 2 more levels plus an unsightly roof deck is going to create a towering structure, negatively impacting my property by removing any privacy in the backyard, any privacy for our 2nd floor master bedroom, which will face 3500. It will block our morning sunlight and cast long shadows on our property. It's going to eliminate significant tree canopy and threaten the black cherry tree located on our property near the fence line. I'm also concerned about the way the applicants misrepresented our interactions in their variance application. They suggested I'm generally supportive of their plans. In our 2 conversations, I expressed skepticism about the idea of this towering structure and about their efforts to portray themselves as a family looking to expand rather than being an LLC looking to develop and flip the house. They aggressively pushed me and others to sign their form while providing minimal information and saying that their plans would be approved even without my support. And that's not how a neighbor should act. For these reasons, I respectfully request that the board reject this variance application, and I urge the applicants to develop the property in a way that's compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. As an example, I point you to our house, 3506 7th Street. It has an identical footprint. And over the years, previous owners found ways to tastefully expand the square footage while retaining its character and without building sky high. So thanks for the chance to share my perspective, and I'm happy to submit this statement in writing as well.
Anybody have any questions? All right. Ms. Alexander, are you here?
I am. Excuse me, I'm trying to turn my camera on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. My camera is not turning on.
Doesn't matter.
We can hear you.
I'll go ahead then. My name is Brooke Alexander. I'm speaking tonight as the representative for the Ashton Heights neighborhood. I am Ashton Heights Tree Canopy and Native Plant Coordinator. It's a new position that was created in 2019 in response to our neighborhood's loss of tree canopy. More about our concerns about the tree canopy are contained in my letter that you have in your supplement. The tree canopy in Ashton Heights in 2008 was 48%. In 2016, our canopy was reduced to 40%, and losses have continued. As an indication of my qualifications to speak to the canopy, I will tell you that I have an undergraduate degree in biology, master of planning. I have been an Arlington Regional Master Naturalist for 11 years and the Tree Canopy Fund Coordinator for Ashton Heights for 5 years. So you would better understand the tree canopy issue here, in my letter to the board, I described each tree that is on the site, as well as those in the neighbors' yards that I believe will be affected by the applicant's construction. I also drew an aerial view of the approximate tree canopy in question. You can see as an attachment to my letter outlined in green, I estimate that the current canopy on the applicant's property to be approximately 40% of, and that's the native canopy trees. Ashton Heights is against 3 of the 4 variances. We do support the variance for building on top of the garage with the caveats we put in our letter. The basis of our support for this variance is that it would not add to the impervious ground by adding to the top of the non-compliant garage. Briefly, as detailed in our letter, the caveats we request are 2. 1, replacing the 40% canopy being removed, and 2, replacing the neighbor's canopy that will be impacted. The other 3 variances we are against. The loss of tree canopy on this property is a significant
variances
of canopy for Ashton Heights. Although the applicant is within their rights to take down the current trees, we want to ensure that there is space remaining on the lot for future trees. With all due respect, we do disagree with the staff recommendation. The reference to nearby homes with lesser street setbacks on page 3 of the staff report, if I read the chart correctly, refers to buildings built in 1929, 1935, and variances granted in 1993 and 95. Ashton Heights' concern about tree canopy loss and minimizing impervious ground has been a more recent development, well past those variance dates. The setback from the rear property line on page 4 of the staff report references garages, again, built almost 100 years ago. I would further differentiate these examples since in this case, we are not looking at the setback of a garage, but the main building from the rear property line or the side, I'm not sure which. If my figures are correct, with a 1,630, thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Alexander?
Miss Alexander, sorry.
No,
did you say there was material attached to your comments?
I submitted a letter. It's in the supplement package, and it has pictures of two of the trees, as well as the tree canopy, kind of overview overlaid over the proposed building site plat.
I see. So you have basically done an existing condition drawing here. I see that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Is the next speaker Mr. McClure?
Hi there.
Oh, Mrs. McClure, I'm sorry.
That's all right. It happens all the time. I'm very, very used to it. Thank you all very much for your time. I'm Clay McClure, owner of the street that's kitty corner, directly across from Mr. Mayor's house. And I moved into the neighborhood about 15 years ago. I wrote a statement because I'm traveling and I wasn't sure how my Wi-Fi was going to be, so I would just refer you to my statement, but a couple of things that I would like to call out, one of which refers to the owner's statement of support or verbal support from a neighbor across 7th Street. I'm not sure if that was referring to me. I did speak with the owner, at which time was given the impression that it was going to be his family moving in to the home, which I felt after looking at the application as an LLC with 1/3 owners, I felt like that was a misrepresentation. But one of the things that hasn't come up, in addition to the tree canopy issues and the setback issues, I would just like to second the concern of the height and what it would mean. One thing that I pointed out is this corner of Lincoln is a little bit, there's a bend in the road and a rise there, and people come around that corner and hit cars on that corner on a regular basis. I am very concerned with a 4-year-old daughter with the way people come around that corner and how a structure that is nearly 50 feet high, when you add the 6 or 8 feet rise from the center of the street that it would sit on, would do to kind of people driving down Lincoln, and how it could distract the drivers further from the turn that exists on the street. So I would just encourage the board to look at that, given that this variance, I believe it's the variance, it may be the use permit. Sorry, I'm not as clear, but want to make sure that it is encroaching on that corner, and really could affect the view given the massive height that they are looking at.
What is your street address?
3509.
Okay,
So I'm kitty corner across 7th.
right. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for Ms. McClure? All right, Mr. Iveson.
Hi, I'm not sure my, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello? Yeah, the camera is not going to turn on, but I live at 605 North Lincoln Street, so south of the property in question. And I would really just second the comments made by Evan and Clay. The submission that we delivered was our concern for the tree canopy and the loss of the maple tree behind the property, or the side of the property. And from the plans, it doesn't look like the magnolia tree would survive being trimmed back, and the activity of construction. So really just emphasizing the points already brought up by the other speakers. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Iveson? All right, I think does anyone have any other questions for staff or the applicant, or should we talk amongst ourselves? Or does somebody want to make a motion? Throwing it all out there.
I'm sorry, this is Mubashir Khan. I raised my hand, but I'm not sure if you want any feedback from me or no.
Let me see what the board members want.
Sure, sorry about
Thank
that.
you.
Sorry.
Ms. Mallon.
So in the packet of supplemental material, there was a message from the architect, Ken Reed, about possible redesign.
He is here with his hand raised.
Can we hear about what he's thinking?
Yes. Mr. Reed.
Hello, this is Ken Reed. Hello?
Hi.
Hi, okay. Yes, when the issue came up of which was the rear yard and which was the side yard, we'd like to get the rears and the sides in compliance. So we did start looking at an alternate plan at the very last minute to bring us in by 2 feet to the west, which is the rear, but also extend out about 1.2 or 1.4, I can't quite remember which, to the south. We can't extend the building all the way to the building restriction line to the south, because we do have a weld exit, and we do need to hold that back from the south property line at least 5 feet. Now, if I could make one other additional comment as well, we are not asking for any relief from height. The building height that we're proposing is within the ordinances. So the issue of height, I don't think really should be an issue.
Ms. Mallon.
Well, it does become an issue. Massing becomes an issue when you're actually increasing your allowable footprint, and then you multiply it by height. It does end up being a more massive building than if we did not grant the relief.
Ms. Freshman.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about this reference to a last minute change of plan. Assuming that there was an approval, there is a reference to the submitted plan, and that's what would have to be built. So without presuming that there is support for approval, I'm simply suggesting that if there is in fact some consideration of changes to the plan, then this project has to be deferred at the very least, because whatever you submit is what you have to build. And, you know, that's, so let's clarify the status of the plan that we're looking at and that the neighbors are reacting to, vis-a-vis where you might be going perhaps for your own reasons or perhaps in response to neighborhood reaction.
This is Mubashir Hani. Can I add something, or it's not my turn yet?
No, I think we'd like to hear what your thoughts are on revising the plan, because I think that's important to the application. If you guys are going to make changes, then we don't need to go through anything else, really.
So, okay, so can I talk now? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, okay, so the reason we made these last minute changes, but you can see that it's not part of the supplementary record. We don't want to confuse the board, and we don't want to take your valuable time, but we did work hard on that backup plan as option B in case if the board feels like the setbacks of the rear yard and the side yard is unreasonable, because assuming just to remind you, when we designed this, we were considering rear yard as rear yard and side, but it turned out we flip-flop later on. So we never had intention. We never had intention to ask for relief on that. So the other design, which we did not submit, and I think we are okay not to show it to you guys because we don't want to waste your time, but that's more as matter of right solution. We shaved off 2 feet from one side and we increased 2 feet from the other side, basically. So it's the lower relief, but again, we don't want to confuse you guys. So that's why we never presented that. So I guess we can ignore that, but we can.
I'm sorry. Can I interrupt you for a second? I'm a little lost here. I think the question on the floor was if you plan on revising your plan and coming back before us.
I'm sorry. I thought the question was one of the board member asked Mr. Ken that about the email he sent out that we are considering to revise the plans. So that was that's what I was trying to answer. There was so is that right? I think that was the question, right?
Well, let me clarify. If you are planning on making changes to this, then we can't approve this right now.
No,
if you're not planning on making changes and you want us to approve this one, or then that's fine. So let's disregard the thoughts of anything else.
Exactly, Lady Chairman. Yes, you're right. I mean, that was just our option B or plan B. But we are not considering that. So forget about that. Ignore that email for now and stick to the original plan, because that's what it was advertised for, and that's what we all were working on. And if you want, I can answer some of the comments from the neighbors. But if you're short on time, it's up to you guys. If you don't want me to answer any of those concerns, because I think a lot of concerns which these neighbors have raised are not correct, and there's a lot of misunderstanding going on. But I don't want to take your valuable time. If you allow me, I can answer some of that. But if not, don't worry then.
Okay, let us talk. Let's talk about it. And if we have some questions, we'll address them. Ms. Malice, do you have any questions? Old hand. Okay.
I mean, I may, but I'm willing to hear what my colleagues say.
Okay, Mr. Bowen.
Yes, this might be obvious to the board, but I did want to point out that you have the advertisement language that empowers you to grant the rear and the rear setback relief. You do not have to act on that if you do not wish. You could theoretically tonight just make a decision on the street setbacks, basically strike the rear setback language from the resolution, which would more or less compel the applicant to build by right. to that rear setback. If they didn't build by right, they could come back to the BZA for relief with a second use permit request. A hypothetical, but something that might influence your thinking.
Or make my tired brain spin.
Right. I thought that oftentimes the language refers to the actual plans, and now we're in a circular discussion.
Yeah.
Which is going to make my brain explode.
I know.
Yeah, I like to see the plans that we're adopting.
Yeah, I agree.
And we have always taken that position that we want to see what's being adopted, that we don't do theoretical. As long as the plans are referenced in our approval. My concern is, that there needs to be more communication with the neighbors on what's happening here. I am concerned about the massing of this building, given that, it's bigger and you're maxing out the height. But I'm interested in if my colleagues have similar concerns.
Colleague? Thought, motion, question?
I would just agree with Ms. Malice that it's one thing to go straight up and within the height limit. It's and only require an exception if the existing dwelling is non-conforming. But if you're going up and out, then that has a substantial impact on a neighborhood that is essentially a lot of 1.5 and maybe 2-story dwellings. So I can understand the reaction.
Ms. Clark?
I wanted to ask the owner to explain what was the change from the time outreach was gathered by the neighbors to when this was submitted, and what's the difference?
You want the answer, or I'm
Oh,
waiting
yes.
for my time? I know you guys are talking in between. I don't want to disturb you guys.
This one was to you.
Okay, so sorry. I think Ms. Clark's question was if what was changed after outreach. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. We did 3 or 4 rounds of outreaches, and nothing has been changed from our first outreach to 3rd or 4th outreach in last 1.5 months. So whatever we showed the plans, that's what it is. So nothing has been changed. The simple answer is that. And I know there are concerns about a few board members about the height and the massing and going back and going up. Okay, I would just like to address that, because this is a non-conform. We have to consider that this is a challenging lot, a non-conforming small lot, 5,000 with 2 street fronts. Remember that. So this is where we have to leave 25 feet on each side. And the existing house is less than 600 square feet on one level. It has only 2 bedrooms and one small tiny bathroom. So we are not asking for height variance. We are not asking for any other variances. All we are here is just for the street non-conforming wall, the building over. So I mean, unfortunately, we are here because there's a garage tucked in the basement, and that garage is extremely small, hardly 6 feet wide door, and the driveway is in between 2 concrete walls, and that is hardly 7 or 8 feet wide. There's no one who can park the car inside the garage. No one can park the car in the driveway. Literally, we can if we really want to, we can cinder block the wall, close the garage, because the only time it will be used will be for bicycles, not for the car. And if we cinder block that, we have by right we can build over the non-conforming wall as per the Arlington laws. So when we met with Arlington County, Mr. Bowen and Meg Ryan a few months ago, and they told us, you know what, we can go for use permit. This is not a variance case here. So this should be a straight thing, because there are a lot of other properties in Arlington County who are like these. Because of the old lot size, it's a smaller house. I know, with all due respect, one of my neighbor was opposing the height, and his own house, Mr. Maher's house, 3506, have rooms above his garage. And surprisingly, he's opposing this, and we approached him a few times. Ms. Larson, I'm glad she's here. She wrote a long letter. She talked to Mr. Bowen. He had a phone call with her as well. But we reached her 3 times. She never answered the door. She never reached us back. So we reached more than 15, 18 neighbors. We collected 12 letters of supports. But all of a sudden, last day, all these people who are coming in opposition, I don't know why they did not raise their concerns with us. We could have solved it. And the association, Miss Alexander, I read her letter too. I mean, I wish she could have approached us, but within her letter, I'll just tell the board that it's so badly written, poorly written, that she's granting us permission. She said we are referring approval for claim number 1 to build over the non-conforming wall. That's all we're asking. All other 4 or 5 claims, we are not even doing that. We're saving the trees. I don't know why all these neighbors think we are removing the magnolia tree or something. We are saving the trees. We are not removing trees. Okay, there's one tree in the backyard which needs to be some trimmed, and it's leaning on the property, which is a silver maple, only one tree, but it's leaning against the property, is dangerous. Even if we don't do any renovation, we still have to do something with that tree. So anyhow, but I don't want to go into too much details, but I just want trying to help everyone. I just want to let you guys know these are our things, and we are only here for the street setback thing. That's all.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Kaplan.
I have questions for staff. I'm a little confused. One is, do you have a picture of this garage?
Yeah,
I am totally confused on this garage issue.
You can check it out on Google.
On Google Map, I think Mr. Bowen,
Mr. Bowen should have a picture of the house.
And I apologize. I thought we were headed towards a deferral here, so I didn't put in all the time I should have.
We may well be, but.
Right, and then my other question for Mr. Bowen or staff is, if we were just increasing the levels, adding floors to this house over existing foundation, they would not be here, right? But they're going out the back and increasing the footprint out the back. Is that a true statement?
From staff's perspective, the issue that primarily results in this project coming before the BZA is the fact that there's a garage in the basement, and we will work, Mr. Kaplan, to get a picture of that garage for you and hopefully get it on screen.
I can bring that up on Google too while other people are talking.
Okay, yeah, the garage is basically in the basement, more or less. And the other issue that brings this request before the BZA is, the confusion between the side and rear lot line, which the applicants have demonstrated, some willingness to work on and potentially, flip flop.
And I'm sorry. Do you have any? Can you say anything more about this garage issue while I bring it up?
Okay.
Just that Article 60 in the zoning ordinance prohibits vertical expansions for non-conforming building walls over a garage.
That's what I wanted to know. Great.
So they couldn't build on top of it.
Yes, and even though there is an intervening floor, we've run this issue by the zoning plan review team and a few other projects like this one, and the response is consistent. Over a garage is still over a garage, even if there's a floor in between it.
And is the applicant's contention correct? If he cinder blocks in that garage, then the board would not care. I mean, then the county wouldn't care and they could do what they want?
Such garage conversions like that have been debated in the past. The stance now is that you cannot convert the garage into a additional space or another type of space. The board has seen other cases where garages have been converted to other uses and then built over. They have not been non-controversial, I will say.
Okay.
And one more thing I would like to add is
I'm gonna look up this these pictures, and you may hear more from me.
So, Mr. Bowen.
Yes, Ms. Malice.
Because so they're asking for a setback because of they're here because of the garage. And nothing else?
Technically, based on the current plan submission, the rear setback is non-compliant as proposed. As Mr. Khan and Mr. Reed have indicated, there is willingness to make the rear setback 10 feet, which would be compliant on a corner lot, and therefore the side setback could be made 8 feet, which would also be compliant on a corner lot.
How would they make a 10-foot setback? By shaving the building?
Yes, and I believe Mr. Reed has looked at least in a preliminary manner at some design tweaks that could be made. I'm not sure if he has those ready, but I know it's something that was being looked into.
So that would reduce the footprint of the building.
It would adjust the footprint of the building. I'm not sure how the total size would be affected.
It wouldn't be 2 feet the whole length of the building?
It would shave 2 feet off the rear, but I believe it would add potentially additional space towards the side setback, going towards.
Oh, I see. But their plan would add additional to the side.
Yeah,
If
and
they shaved, okay. So,
I'm doing
but
a conjecture here because the plan hasn't been formally submitted or anything, but I believe they'd be building a little bit closer towards Miss Larson's house, but it would still be compliant with our by right setback standards, so long as 8 feet was maintained on that side, and 5 feet toward the areaway. And then, yeah, as we mentioned, they'd be shaving 2 feet off the rear to make it a 10-foot setback potentially, and that would also be allowed by right without BZA approval.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, doesn't that automatically require a new plan?
Yeah, of course it does.
For us to consider. So.
So, but just so the 15.5 to the side porch, that's before us too. So why that's before us? Because there's a 50.
Let me look at that.
There's setbacks. That's before us, correct?
Mr. Blake, that's existing, the 15.5.
It's not existing. I mean, if it was existing, you wouldn't be here. I mean, it's existing, but you're wanting to build over it.
That's the garage, right?
No,
right, that's the garage.
No, the porch.
No, this is on the Lincoln Street setbacks. There's requests for relief on Lincoln Street.
Yep.
Planning at 10 p.m. is not very effective.
Because you can't go over a porch, a non-conforming porch. That's not the existing foundation. Is that correct, Mr. Bowen?
Pulling up the plat now because I don't want to speak out of turn.
But I think that we are headed towards a deferral because we're going to need new plans anyway. So I'm not sure that discussing this further is worth it.
But
to me, it's just understanding, the applicant's position is everything would be by right except the rear setback. And I don't think that's the case.
And Mr. Kaplan, I think we already had this discussion. We are not submitting other plans. We are just trying to have a decision on this tonight because we did not submit any other plans and we are not changing. We are just sticking to the original plan as per advertisement.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Kaplan, to return to your previous question, when I mentioned that the porch is technically, I believe, a feature that requires setback relief. However, when I was speaking earlier about the encroachments that require relief that could be addressed by the board tonight, all the street setbacks could, I believe, still be addressed by the board tonight by stricken some language. It's the street setbacks that I believe are mostly of concern to these applicants, and they're willing to work on the other rear setback issue, which is non-compliant.
Right, but the porch is something which we were told by Mr. Ken that, and by the county, it's highly supportive and is appreciative for the properties to build, because otherwise we can build the property without the porch also. That's not a necessity, but it's the structure and the neighborhood style. And I would like to add one more thing here. At the start of the property, when we approached Arlington County, our initial goal was to raise the property and put a brand new house here. But after meeting with Arlington County and few neighbors, we realized that, okay, the county and the neighbors want us to keep the statics of the house, to keep the existing house. So we changed our initial plan, which we never submitted, of course. So, and we decided to keep the original house. Right now, we are keeping almost 95% of the house. The only thing we are raising out of that house is the old rear small addition, which was built without permit. And we're keeping 95% of the existing statics of the house. So I feel like the proposal, that's why in my statement, honest statement, if you read it, which was printed 6 times, so at the conclusion, we are proposing it's a win-win situation because we are giving up our original plans of raising and putting a brand new house because that's what not the neighbors want. That's not what the county preferred. So we are keeping the old house and we are doing additions above and in the back. As per
Mr. Khan, excuse me, but this building looks nothing like the existing house.
the first 2 basement and first floor are same. We are not removing that.
I'm looking at the exterior.
Right, exterior is a facelift, but most of we are keeping the first floor, although we have the basement only less than 8 feet ceiling. First
Yeah,
floor,
but the whole 3-story addition with the basement on the.
This is completely different house.
Yeah, it's all new.
It's the same house, not completely.
Well, the enclosed patio is not the same size as the 3-story addition on the 2 plats. They are very different.
Yeah, but the height, I think that if you are worried about the height and the addition, that's beyond BZA. We're not here for that. That's a matter of right? The only
that's not
street
that's
setback.
different than what we were saying. Mr. Kaplan, do you have any questions?
Setbacks. That's it.
No, I was just going to say this applicant has by right options that would not have to be here before us or dealing with neighborhood support if he wanted to go with the by right option. And I know this is very similar to a previous case we discussed. In fact, the 5,000 square foot house, undersized lot for the area. You know, a lot of neighborhood angst. And so speaking for myself, I am not ready to support this without at least sending everyone back to talk a little bit more.
We got 12 supports.
But sir, the all of the adjacent neighbors or both of the adjacent neighbors and some directly across the street are not in support.
Mr. Kaplan,
some that are in support are
right
away.
The neighbor right in front of us is supportive. The neighbor on the right is supportive. The lady who's there living there from 1938 she's supportive. So if you read our letters, you can see that we have 12 letters of supports. Okay, the people who are coming in opposition, we met them multiple times.
I don't see your adjacent neighbors are not supporting.
632 and 3506 are not supporting.
Do not support.
Right, but
and those are important neighbors.
But they're not supportive. But we approached them, right, and they're not party of the case. And what we're doing on their side is matter of right. So we are not the board. I think the board have to look at it from this angle.
No,
one of them is by right. One of them is not.
One of them's by right.
Okay, the one is by right. But it's just only 50 square feet of that corner, and I think my architect designed that just pull out straight back. It's only 15 feet, which is on the corner, which is going out of that area. And I think he just because the lot is too small, we were having issues even with this size. I know you're saying it's big. Even we are having issues designing a kitchen in the back because it's not enough space. The house layout is no more than 1,000 square feet on one level right now. So I don't know what board is thinking. There's so many houses which are bigger than this in the neighborhood. So do you think 1,000 square feet floor level is a big house? I highly doubt that.
Can the board have a discussion?
Okay, we've gotten enough
Let's
time.
call the question.
Yes, Mr. Kaplan.
Right. So I'm not saying I'm ready to deny this case. I'm just saying I'm not ready to approve it. As my one vote of 5, obviously.
Mr. Bowden.
Just to gauge the board's interest, is there any interest in potentially a motion related to just making a decision on the street setbacks tonight? If so, I could kind of work on one on the side. Okay.
No, it's it's the whole package that we have to look at.
All right. Does anyone want to make a motion of some sort?
So my concerns are compatibility and obviously the neighbors have a lot of concerns along those lines, including concerns about trees, which Mr. Khan indicates are a misunderstanding by the neighbors.
Right.
I think it would behoove Mr. Khan to circle back with the neighbors and come to a common understanding of what the tree situation is.
But if they will meet me, only then. Remember, we met all these neighbors.
Mr. Khan.
Oh, Mr. Khan.
Mr. Khan, please let Ms. Malice speak. It's now with the board. It's our turn.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that talking to, making sure that your neighbors at least have a common understanding of what is going to happen. They may not in the end like it, but I think it would behoove you to have neighbors that, as you say, presently misunderstand your proposal, come around to understanding it. So I think a deferral in my mind would be at a minimum. And then if there's any other changes that you want to bring forward based on your discussion with neighbors to try to, work out any difficulties with them that you want to add, you would have an opportunity to do that too. Your idea of starting from scratch, we're not wedded that you build over, if it's easier for you to start with a new building, we're not wedded to you working with your existing footprint, at least from my standpoint. So my inclination would be a deferral.
Ms. Freshman.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult lot because of it's undersized. It's too wide and too narrow and not big enough anyway. And I can appreciate, I think, given the difficulties of the lot and the tree issue for the community, it's almost impossible to see how everybody's gonna be warm and fuzzy about it. And I think in the end, I don't think that it's necessarily, it might be better for a whole new building that is, that could go by right. I mean, I think a lot of neighbors might not like that either, but I think that given the size of the lot and the shape of the lot, at least it would be, I mean, we might end up seeing it here again because it's of its unusual shape. But I think we're trying to put a square peg in a round hole, and I don't think we're going to accomplish anything by the circular discussion.
If I may, I have not spoken yet. I have raised my hands.
Who can you identify yourself?
Yes, I am the owner. Good evening, everybody. Just wanted to chime in for one quick minute. I totally agree with Judy Freshman and all the board's input. I'm one of the owners who is planning on moving in the property with my family, and I approached all the neighbors. And as you could see, out of everybody we reached out, we have majority of the approval as the plan exists currently. My only question to Ms. Judy is, what is your suggestion? Because I honestly love the old feel of the neighborhood and the sidewalks where we can walk with our kids. I don't want to raise the property like you suggested, that maybe it is an easier alternative for us to just kind of go that route and raise the house and build something. And in that case, we can go high 3 floors, but I'd rather keep the existing bones of the property and go vertically, which is what we are proposing. Besides the confusion of the side and the rear yard, we won't change any of the existing structural walls of the property. The only thing we will change if we submit a supplemental plan will be the back extension that we are proposing, where we will be intending it 2 feet to make the right side 10 feet and the back will be 8 feet by right. But if we are to go totally raise this property, all these trees are going to get disturbed. I mean, as is, the magnolia tree stays. I mean, only will need pruning so we could do the construction. The only tree in question is the oak tree, the silver maple in the back, which is already leaning on the property. Which I think could fall and hurt the house, but we can try to save it as much as we can because it's not really in our way. The other tree that the neighbor on the back or the side is asking us is actually in her property. is not even on my property. And the dogwood in the front and on the side, these are all staying. Nothing is getting removed.
Ms. Arthurs, may I speak?
Yes.
Since you were going to be moving into this home, it really behooves you to be talking to the neighbors and working this out. As it stands now, the neighbors are not very happy. And I think a deferral would give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and come to some understanding with the neighbors, as at least as a sign of goodwill that you plan to be a good neighbor. But I think we've sort of exhausted the arguments here, and I think we need to move forward.
Oh, I totally agree. And I was the one who went around, got all these outreach letters signed, and out of 15, we got 11 signed, and the ones we couldn't get a hold of are here opposing it. So it's hard for me to explain my plans and introduce myself if they're not home or won't open the door. Unfortunately.
Okay, well, I think that they're now very alert to this project, and again, this deferral does not mean that we're going to vote in favor of the neighbors or vote in favor of you. We want to, so nobody has a veto here one way or the other. What we want to see is if there can be some accommodations or understanding so that we're all on the same page as at least to what's being done, and then we can decide which way we fall on this issue. The neighbors by no means have a veto on this.
Absolutely.
It's just.
And one quick question. So do I need to resubmit all these outreach letters, or the neighbors who already approved 11 of them? I mean, I'm sure they will appreciate the new plans, which we will, the confusion of the rear and the side yard bit. It has no impact on the total square footage whatsoever. The house will look identical, but just smaller. One side 2 feet smaller, the other side 2 feet larger, and that's pretty much it.
The neighbors that we're interested in are the neighbors that touch your property or are directly across the street from your property. You don't have to go many houses down. It's the ones that are immediately adjoining or across the street. So yes, those are the people that should see your new plans.
Which is not a problem. We will show them the plan, but like you said, they don't have veto rights. And if I'm by right doing all the adjustments before the next hearing, that should be plenty. I don't need to go knock on 15 other doors, because the 7th Street, quite frankly, only has 8 homes. And then after that block is all condominiums, mostly renters who are just there.
Okay,
right?
I think we've been clear that you need which neighbors you need to consult, the ones that adjoin your property or immediately across the street from it. And if you have any more questions about who they are, staff can show you a tax map and give you the addresses if there's any questions.
All right. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Mr. Kaplan.
Just 2 quick comments. One is that even though some or a lot of this project is by right, when you're asking for a special use permit, it kind of opens up the entire project to neighbor feedback. Right, that's kind of just part of how this process works. And then my second comment is, for all of the neighbors and everyone generally, is that if this applicant decides to raise the house and make a by right project, everyone might be less happy with that result than the proposed plan. And if this applicant chooses to do a use permit, then neighborhood outreach provides an opportunity to provide feedback. Just to throw that out there. So
very good observation. Very good observation, Mr. Kaplan.
I hope that everyone can put the miscommunications aside and kind of start anew, with what is hopefully going to be a long-term neighbor in your neighborhood.
Absolutely, and I think you nailed it to the T there, because either I actually went to the permits department and they said, oh, you can just apply for permits and go vertically high, it's by right. But I didn't want to go ahead and do that, because I'm like, listen, I'm going to be living here with my family, with my kids and daughters and everything. So let me do it the right way and coming in front of you guys. So I think we'll go back and do the revision, show the neighbors adjacent to the property, if they open the door, what we are thinking. And worst case scenario, we go raise this thing, all the trees go, and then that's something, we're not happy to do. But unfortunately, hopefully they will approve the second revision before the September meeting.
And to the neighbors, I certainly hope that you do open your doors.
Yeah.
Because we will, if we don't have new feedback, we won't be able to take that into consideration.
One of us
We
has
really have
Hold
to
on,
move
hold on.
forward. We really
who
need to move
has
forward.
COVID and is ill. There are
Please.
reasons why I did not open that door.
Stop.
Ms. Larson, please stop talking. Ms. Malice, continue.
I think we're ready for a motion.
Okay, Mr. Bowen, you had your hand up. Would you like to
Mr.
say
Kaplan
anything?
has his hand up too, though.
I believe my concerns have largely been addressed. I was just going to say that staff is available to discuss some by right options that might be available should the project team want to talk with us. I have a few notions of things that could be done that could make certain aspects of this project provable, and I'd be happy to talk about them.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen.
All right, Mr. Kaplan.
My comment is, I think clearly we're moving towards a deferral. So the question is how long, and is September enough time to do new plans or tweak plans and neighbor outreach?
That is a question for the applicants. Would September work for you guys?
Because we frown on multiple deferrals.
What is the agenda already?
Oh, it's more than enough time. Yeah, September 14 is the next meeting, I believe. It's more than enough time. I think we can.
Because
Remember,
plans
it
have
has
to
to
be
be
in the weeks
advertised.
ahead of time.
Oh,
This is Ken Reed. This is Ken Reed, the architect. I could have a new proposed plan ready very quickly, within probably a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Okay. Mr. Bowen, do you think September would work?
The September agenda, we don't have an August hearing, so it's not the usual rush to ready the agenda right after this meeting concludes. So we will be advertising the September agenda in mid-August, so about a month for revisions to come in and be considered. We need probably at the very least 2 to 3 weeks, I would say, probably 3 weeks to run the plans by plan review staff to see if we need to make any changes to the advertisement language. So I would say really a week or two, probably until we'd want to see some indication of what is being proposed.
And the neighbor outreach is going to have to happen before, the neighbor outreach is going to have to happen before plans are developed, right? So you're looking at some lead time even before you can get, plans and that sort of thing, right? Because the neighbors are going to want to have feedback.
Well, they're going to want to see the plans that are going to be built. So they need plans in order to have neighbor feedback.
And then there may be tweaks after that.
October.
I think that sounds safer.
Yeah.
People are gone. It's hard to get in touch with people. It's not just the county that shuts down.
It's all of the DC area.
Mr. Bowen, just quick thing. We send you this new plans also. So if you want to show it to the board right now, because I think we would prefer to have a decision sooner. I know you guys are talking September, October, but of course, if you have to defer it, I would say September. But we already send you just this afternoon later set of plans as well.
I'd like to make a motion.
Please.
Yes, please.
In V-11766-22-UP-1, I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals defer this matter to our October
13th,
12th hearing date.
Second.
Motion is made by Ms. Malice, seconded by Ms. Freshman. I will call the roll. Ms. Freshman.
Aye.
Ms. Malice.
Aye.
Ms. Clark.
Hopefully.
Aye. Mr. Kaplan.
Aye.
The chair votes. Ms. Clark, you voted aye, right?
Yes, aye.
Fabulous. All right. Chair votes aye. The motion to defer the application to the October 12th, 2022 BZA hearing passes 5-0. We will see you guys in October.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
All right. That concludes this matter.
I move the board of approval of the BZA minutes of Wednesday, June 8th, 2022.
Second.
The motion to approve the June 8th, 2022. We gotta call the roll. I'm delirious, guys. I'm gonna call the roll. Ms. Freshman.
Aye.
Ms. Malice.
Aye.
Ms. Clark.
Aye.
Mr. Kaplan.
Abstain.
Oh. Okay. Chair votes aye. The motion to approve the minutes for June 8th, 2022 BZA hearing have passed 4-0 with 1 abstention. Check, check. All right. Do we want to, I don't really want to do anything right now, but do we want to pick a day in August that we can get into or early September where we can get into the boardroom and figure out how we're going to do this going forward?
So
Can we close off the attendance before we discuss this? Is that possible?
Oh, should we?
Does it count as a public meeting if we continue talking?
Yes. Yeah.
In terms of talking about any BZA business, I think this is still part of the BZA agenda in my mind, and it should be open to the public to listen to.
Okay.
Well, we have to, if we all get together for the training in the boardroom, we have to notice the meeting anyway, right?
So there's a training planned? Bring us up to date.
That's what Blake and I were discussing earlier, because there's some pretty significant IT with the teams as well as the board, and they have some, IT stuff set up in there that Blake and Meg will have to figure out how to use, and they want us to at least be familiar with it since we're going to be sitting there and using it. Although they'll probably do a majority of it for us, but since, one, I've never been there except for a BZA hearing for my neighbor 6 years ago. And none of us have been there for quite some time, and we never had to broadcast on Teams in there before either. So it probably is a good idea to at least do some kind of dry run and figure out how this is going to work. So,
you're looking for availability?
I think so, Ms. Freshman.
Yeah, my issue is that I understand why the rules are changing. I'm not at all comfortable going back into the boardroom. Now, that's a separate issue, and I can talk to the chief judge about that, but I'm not comfortable doing that. And if I'm not going to be allowed to participate remotely because of the new rules, then I'll just need to step aside. My term is up at the end of this year anyway, and I don't have any expectation one way or another about extending. I would extend because I enjoy the work. But I think we've come up with a very practical way for us and for all the applicants and participants. And I'm sorry that it's not our decision or even the board's decision to allow for hybrid meetings. I can foresee a situation in which we all go to the courtroom and everybody else and are speaking to an empty room.
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure that the applicants have, don't want to come out in the rain or go home at midnight or hire babysitters. And I don't either. I've done that for decades. So I'm just sharing with you because there isn't much point in me even trying to find an agreeable date to go for training if my intention is not to go.
Okay.
And the way I read the rules, I'm not going to be able to just pull rank because of seniority and being old. It doesn't appear to be that I could, I have to have a much more valid reason than that. So maybe I'm misinterpreting the rules, but that's the way it looks to me, in which case, I won't be there.
Can you, just for sheer numbers, if you are going to talk to the chief judge, can you do that and let us know if he sees that he can make some kind of
accommodation?
Just let us know so that we can.
Sure. I'll get in touch with Paul Ferguson because he's the clerk and he's the guy who runs it. So, and I intend to do that anyway. But I'm just saying that if we're going to have a session like this to talk about bylaws and other kinds of stuff, I'm fine with it. If it's in person, then I'm not. So,
Well,
but
we have to figure out how to have teams work in this situation anyway. So maybe you could be the person on the other side, and Portia, you as well, if you guys want, so we can figure out how it works and we can set up the Teams link. And
Portia, what is your comfort level in going back to the boardroom? Are you going to be asking for a medical exception?
I haven't decided it yet. I'm pushing it, but I'll have to, wait until it gets closer to that time before I make a final decision.
So you might
But I don't, I mean, right now I'm okay with, I guess. What's that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely talk. I'll be talking to Paul.
I think that, without stepping on anybody's comfort level, because I don't intend to do that at all, if you guys could just let us know what your conversations are and if they're okay with it, just so that we can plan numbers wise, that's fine. And I respect both of your decisions completely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to go in either.
Absolutely.
But as the 41-year-old here, I don't really think I have a choice. So, and the chair, so
Same here,
I'm gonna go.
So just FYI, Lindsay, there's 7 days that I'm in town in August. So just 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 10, 11. That's it for me. And I'm out of town all the rest of August.
Then why don't we try to do something in early September when, Emily will be back in school, things will be a whole lot easier. August is also all over the place for me now that I think about it. Labor Day is the 5th, so maybe if we could try to do something towards the end of the first week of September, the first full week of September, that would be ideal. Probably not the 6th definitely not the 6th, because that's when she's going back to school, so life is chaos. But
7, 8, or 9 work for me.
Yeah, that would work. Blake?
Yeah, I would just say that'll be the week that we as staff are finalizing all the staff reports. It could be a heavy agenda, so we'll be super busy. Generally, we finalize them by that Wednesday. So I'd say Thursday or Friday would be our preference, aiming for that week, because we'll have a little more leeway those days.
Okay.
Is that one going to be crazy meeting?
At the moment, we don't fully know because we haven't finalized the agenda. I believe we have five confirmed items. I don't think we deferred any until September today, other than the 3 we knew about. The variance and the 2 variances and the 1 use permit. So we have those 3 as well as an additional 2. And then we're doing completeness checks on, I believe, 6 other applications that could be added to the agenda. And then we might have a few more come in over the next few days. So maybe somewhere around 11 at the moment could be on the agenda, and we'll check to see probably by Friday what else has come in.
So Lindsay, the meeting that you're talking about is for the technology?
Well, and also because it would technically be before the 14th, we could get our bylaws approved and have something in place, because we do need to do that before we go back in order to have teams and to have, virtual and in person.
So adopting the bylaws with the technology added?
Yeah.
And Blake, could those drafts, the draft or drafts or whatever it is, could that be sent out so that we have a chance to all look at it? Because it seems like maybe in August, there might be an opportunity at least for some back and forth. It may be that everybody is pretty comfortable with them and we just need somebody to draft the technology part. I don't recall them as being terribly controversial. I mean, it was really literally created from whole cloth. We weren't working off much. I think he looked at some bylaws from adjoining jurisdictions, but it's not a heavy lift. But I think at least it would be helpful for people to have the document that to spend 5 or 10 minutes looking at, and just so that we know going in that there's little or no controversy.
Yeah, while I'm away, most of August, I am flexible as far as Zoom goes. I'm in a vacation house where, I can hop on. And so even if we wanted to do a Zoom in August to just look at bylaws, that would be fine with me. I just can't physically be somewhere.
I think the only risk of separating the two is that we're gonna have, if we're all together, we need to notice a meeting, a public meeting.
Sure. But it's not a big,
Which
if
we
notice
can,
is,
you
it's
know,
not
we
a
can
big
do
deal
that.
to notice our meetings.
But at least we can have, if we have the drafts,
We can
we can
discuss them
do some
online.
homework, even
Mhm.
even if there isn't yet a scheduled time to adopt them formally in a meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the flip side
yeah.
is, I mean, if it's easier for just me to jump in and, you know, in the end of September with the staff, I can just do that so that at least somebody is aware of how it all works.
I can too.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, if there's two of us that know.
And I'm pretty flexible with schedule.
As backup, I think that's more than sufficient.
I'm sorry, I missed that. I started reading. Mr. Rizzi has sent a message. It is calendar year.
Oh, good.
But what was the last part about jumping on a?
If, you know, if it's just Richard and I that jump into the boardroom before the meeting just to figure out how it all works out, that's fine. Cause I don't have.
I'm fine with the boardroom.
Okay, I don't see any reason why Blake and Megan would have any difficulty running the technology, although there was a lot of feedback tonight and you did lose power a couple times last month.
Yeah, it's gonna be lonely if you lose technology and there's nobody for us to talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if I'm physically in the room, I can talk to anyone who's physically in the room, but we don't know if anyone from the public will join in that room.
Do you plan to be physically in the room then?
Yes, that would be my plan.
All staff will be physically in the room?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Are we all on individual teams? Is that the plan? So we're talking to our computer in the boardroom?
Sorry, are you talking about the September hearing itself or the planned work session?
The hearing.
The hearing.
Yeah, the hearing, I'm planning to be in the room.
And we use the monitors in the boardroom, not our own laptops.
That's correct. Yeah, and they have some. I didn't see every piece of new equipment in there. There's one big piece of equipment called the hub, which is something that we've been very lightly trained on. And as Lindsay mentioned earlier, you know, most of the technology issues will seemingly be handled by us, but there will be probably some benefits to doing like more or less like a dress rehearsal just to see how all this technology works. It's new for us. It's new for you. It'll be new for the public, this hybrid format. And we don't want the, you know, initial meeting in September to be an outright disaster because no one is really trained on it fully.
Here's another question. I don't have papers and I don't really want papers. Should I bring my own laptop?
You certainly can.
Is there Wi-Fi we can access?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you have monitors at your seat. That,
yeah, I don't know that they're going to hook up to my laptop.
But no, but if you're going to look at staff reports, you're going to have to look at a laptop. That's fine.
Like I'm on an iPad here, so.
Or iPad, yeah.
Oh my God, I have 2 screens with a camera in it. I've got my whole work set up.
Well, I have that too, but.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can confirm that.
But I have all the reports on an iPad.
Yesterday and use the Wi-Fi with my laptop. It was fully functional the entire time. So I expect that you'd be able to, you know, look at staff reports via Wi-Fi without issue.
I just wasn't sure what was going to be on the screen, like, because I scroll through that stuff and resize and, you know.
Do Google searches for pictures?
Yes.
That's how I found the driveway.
Yes.
So did we pick a date when we were going to meet in September?
No, we didn't do that. How about the 8th?
I would say staff might have a slight preference for the 9th, but I think we can make either the 8th or the 9th work if the 8th is preferable to everyone else.
I'm good with either.
For our staff reports.
I guess that's a question. Are we doing this in the middle of, I assumed we were doing this in the evening. Are we doing this in the middle of the day?
Daytime. I assumed daytime, but is this evening?
No, actually, September 8th, I have tickets for Red Hot Chili Peppers, so I'm definitely not going to be available that night.
That is fantastic.
I know. I'm pumped. Nationals at National Park. I can't wait. So maybe not the morning on the 9th. Not that I drink or anything, because I don't, but I will be up later. It'll be like tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we'd have to check the availability of the boardroom. I might be able to do that now via Outlook. I don't know the exact times offhand, but we can certainly check the dates and times for both the 8th and the 9th to see what's available. And I can communicate that to you via email. And seeing that's already almost 10:45 or so, I don't want to keep you guys any longer, but so we'll aim for the 8th to 9th. We'll try to do a training session and a adoption of the bylaws all at once. And then the only other item that we had on this anything else list for the into the hearing is supplemental materials. Obviously, we got a lot of them today, last minute. Staff has been considering, putting a cutoff date on our website, but we would want to know when and if you guys are comfortable with declaring a definitive cutoff date. Keeping in mind that people can still come in person and just hand you materials.
That's the problem.
Which they always do.
They always
fine. I think that's,
But if we're virtual,
people
they
that
can't
are
really
coming
do that.
remotely can't hand, and that, so there's a disadvantage to people that are remote, and that's been our problem all along. The purpose of the hearing is to, get information.
But when you're in person and you come into your seat and you've got a half an inch of material that came in at the last minute, you can't even read it.
Right.
I mean, so it's really useless. I mean, you can follow along if somebody's speaking and referring to their handout, but they come in with last minute pictures and all kinds of crap.
Or a 3-page letter.
Sorry?
Or a 3-page letter.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, and you literally can't read it.
So the only way to enforce the deadline is to have some consequence for missing it. If you put a deadline out and you say that if you have material to submit after this deadline, your case will be heard at the next BZA meeting and not this one. That's about the only way you can enforce it.
Or
Otherwise,
material would not be considered.
Pardon?
Or material will not be considered, right? It's not public notice. It's not in the application.
Yeah, that's the part you can't, that's the part you really, they come in, we're having a public hearing, right? So we can't not consider it unless we say we won't consider it at this hearing. We'll consider it at your deferred hearing.
We go back and forth on this all the time. I don't think we're going to come up with a solution.
Yeah, I think staff has talked about, potentially saying the Friday before the hearing. So that would be the same day that the staff reports generally go out, would be the deadline for supplemental materials. But then that's just really doesn't leave much window where it's actually supplemental. It's like a day or two after we finalize the reports.
Yeah.
And then it would have to be a pretty soft recommendation of, that we won't be able to hear it. Because as I said, they can't always show up and hand it to you. We can develop some language.
Or read it to you, it's
I don't think it's even worth it. I hate it. I hate it. I'd like to say no, but
that's another reason why virtual has been good. It's annoying to get supplemental at 5 o'clock on the day of, but you can at least glance at it while you're having supper or something, and there's a chance at actually or referring to it at the time you're hearing the actual case while other people are talking. But it's the worst is when you're in the boardroom and you get a lot of last minute handouts and people who literally come up to the dais when their case is called and say, oh, I have these 14 letters from neighbors, and they walk around and hand you stuff. I mean, it's ridiculous.
They're going to be keeping their distance from that dais because of COVID, by the way.
Well, wait till it, rears its ugly head again in the fall.
Well, we got it 2 weeks ago.
Me too.
Yeah, but I mean, several people in my family have had it multiple times, and they're vaccinated.
Yeah. Yeah.
A quick question for everyone else. Was my long motion, was that the way to do that?
What you could have done is just edited a motion. In other words, it could have you could have just referred to the motion that was in the text and say this motion with the following edits.
Okay. I thought that might be confusing, but
it does get confusing. But both ways work.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the way we've done it in the past.
Okay.
We take one of them and we edit it, and then we
ask.
Then we ask Mr. Bowen, did you
Yes.
understand what we said?
Yeah, because
okay,
a
good to know.
lot of times you will want to just add a condition. So you're going to say, you're going to do the staff recommendation, adding condition number 6, and then you do have to spell out your language.
No, I get.
But the whole thing doesn't have to be done.
I get that. In the denial, right, there were two of the bullets I wanted to get in there, and 2 of them I didn't, right? So then I'm changing a lot of words and changing bullet points, and I wasn't sure I could do that on the fly.
You can do it like
Whatever you want.
an edit, but that was fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, from my perspective, you spoke the way we would probably write it. But
Mhm.
usually when people are speaking, they'll probably be a little more abridged. But that's how we'll probably write it in the minutes.
I mean, I could have abridged it, but then I thought that the motion should be like word for word, right?
Yeah, understood. It gave a lot of technical clarity, even though it was lengthy. I see many people waving. Motion to adjourn.
Steve.
Sorry.
Stephen wants us to go to bed.
I mean, obviously, but I was just going to add that is also a procedure that could be different at the next meeting when you're in person. We used to have board members who would actually amend motions, write in how they want it to be changed, and then read it for the record so everyone's aware of it, and then give us the written changes to make sure that staff has exactly the language you're expecting.
Man, that's old school.
Yep.
That's what happens when you're in person.
It's still all painful. So.
And Stephen did say that the boardroom looks to be entirely free on both the 8th and the 9th. So seemingly both dates are up for grabs. Lindsay, Judy, I guess we can communicate probably through you as to the overall board's preference if the decision is not made tonight.
Okay.
That sounds good. All right. I'm gonna go to bed, guys.
All right.
You,
Well,
you have
thank you,
to say
everyone.
the agenda being completed.
The agenda is complete.